In an empty field there stands two figures. One is 10 feet tall, wearing a black cape and a worn suit of armor. His head stands clear of any sort of hair, while his chin seems to have stolen it all as he looks down at the other figure. He stands at 5 feet with a large, spiky head of blonde hair. He wears a large white trench coat with stars on his collar. You will regret this, Meliodas. The cycle of light and darkness is never-ending. I won't die as long as there is darkness. I will return one day. I'm sure you are aware of that, the armored figure said. Of course I'm aware, but whenever you return we will be there, Meliodas said stoically as the members of the 7 deadly sins stood behind him. Oomph, the figure replied as he faded away. Midoriya Izuku was walking down the streets with his head down. All Might's right. It's too dangerous to be a hero. I should just give up and move on to something else. Suddenly, an explosion shook him from his thoughts. I wonder what's happening now. He walked towards the crowd of people and looked to see what was going on, and his eyes grew when he saw it. It's the sludge villain from earlier, but I thought All Might captured him. Wait, it's my fault. I'm the reason he dropped him. Can't the heroes do something? Yeah, the villains even got a hostage. Where's All Might? There's even a hostage. I screwed up big time. I'm no hero. I should just… Izuku stopped his thoughts again once he saw who was in the sludge villain's grasp. Kakin. Izuku rushed forward suddenly towards the slime villain while the heroes were yelling at him to stop. What am I doing? Why are my legs moving? I can't stop. You want to die that badly, kid? The villain yelled at him. Okay, calm down, Izuku, you can do this. First try to stun him somehow. Oh, I got it, my backpack. Izuku threw his backpack at the villain, blinding him slightly. Ah, you little shit. Die. The villain recovered quicker than Izuku expected and shot 3 slime spikes that impaled Izuku through the chest, much to the horror of the bystanders and the heroes. One of the bystanders looked even more horrified. It's all my fault. That boy rushed in while us heroes stood here and did nothing, and he got killed for it. I'm so useless. A skeletal man with large blonde hair, holding his stomach, thought. Izuku stood there with 3 large slime spikes through his chest. They were right. I really am useless. All I ended up doing was getting myself killed. I'm sorry, Ma. He thought as he started to lose consciousness until a voice brought him back. Are you going to let them win? Izuku looked around for the voice and saw that he was in darkness with the only light being on himself. Are you just going to sit there and let everyone that didn't believe in you be right? Izuku looked around again, trying to figure out where this voice came from. Finally, he laid his eyes on the source of the voice. Standing in front of him was a 6 feet 11 inches man with spiky blue hair and red eyes with black slits for pupils. He is wearing a red open vest with silver studs along the edges and a matching pair of red pants that also have the studs. Prove to them that they were wrong. Prove that you can be a hero. Izuku's eyes widened. All his life, he waited for someone to say that. To tell him that it was okay. That he can be a hero. Never mind that this was a random guy in Izuku's mind. He was the first one to say it. With a new determination in his eyes, Izuku looked at the man in front of him. All right, he yelled. There's that fire I knew you had. Now, there isn't much time to explain right now, but just follow your instincts. The man said with a smirk as he began to walk off. Thank you. I don't really understand what's happening, but wait. Who are you? The name's Ban Kid. Now show them who was wrong. The man laughed as he walked off into the darkness. Haha, dumb kid. He was stupid to try and play hero. Ha ha ha. Let him go. What? The villain tried to figure out where that voice was coming from until he felt movement from Izuku's body. I said let him go. Izuku looked up with new fire in his eyes. How the hell are you alive? I pierced you 3 times. Hell, I was greedy and wanted my life back, so I stole it. Now I'm gonna steal your hostage. Physical hunt. Izuku shouted as he jumped back with his arms raised toward the sludge villain. Everyone watched in shock as the holes where Izuku was pierced started to close and all the blood began disappearing. What's happening? Why is my strength leaving? The villain asked as his sludge started to drip away, revealing more of Bakugo. Let me go, you bastard. Bakugo yelled as he continued struggling. Izuku smiled, revealing sharp fox-like teeth instead of his old ones. Snatch! He yelled. Suddenly, Bakugo disappeared and reappeared in Izuku's arms. What the? Let me go shitty DK you. I didn't need your damn help. Bakugo yelled. Alright, that's it. Shut the hell up, Katsuki. Izuku yelled as he dropped Bakugo on the ground. Bakugo sat on the floor, for once, lost for words over Izuku's outburst. He's weak. Now get off your asses and do something. Izuku yelled to the pro heroes standing there watching the whole scene play out. Izuku's yell seemed to have jolted the heroes out of their stupor, and they went to confront the villain again, but were unable to as a gust of wind blew in front of them. Detroit Smash, yelled All Might as he punched the sludge villain, scattering all the sludge everywhere. The wind from the attack was so great that rain started pouring around the scene. The crowd's reaction picked up as they started cheering and talking about what All Might did. The pros started to clean up and take care of the situation. They walked up to Izuku to berate him for his actions, but his fire wasn't fully out yet. You guys didn't do shit. If it wasn't for me, then Kakin would have died. So get off your high horses and just admit that you guys suck today. He yelled as he walked away. Izuku walked for a bit until he was stopped by a voice behind him. Deku. Izuku jumped at the voice, his demeanor returning to normal. Hi KK Kakin. He stuttered out. I didn't need your damn help. I don't know what the hell that was, but you better not be looking down on me. But I guess that you weren't so bad. Bakugo said as he grabbed Izuku by the collar before putting him down and walking away with his hands in his pockets before Izuku could even say anything. I guess that's his way of saying thank you. Izuku sighed as he rubbed his head. He looked down at his hands. But what was that? How did I do all that? And who was that guy? I think he said his name was Ban, but was he even real? Maybe it was all in my... I am here. Izuku's rambling was broken by All Might appearing from the corner of the street. Young man, I wanted to tell you that I'm sore gref. All Might be said as he spit blood and returned to his weakened state. Hey, All Might. Izuku yelled, worried about the wounded hero. Tashinori wiped the blood off his mouth. I'm fine, kid, but seriously, I need to apologize to you. I told you that you couldn't be a hero because I was afraid. I knew what happened to me, and it made me not want anyone to go down the same path I did. But then I saw you. Listen, young man, I don't know what you did back there, but I do know one thing. Every great hero has always had one thing in common in their origins. When someone was in danger, their bodies moved on their own. Izuku's eyes lit up, remembering how his legs started moving, and he didn't know why. After everything that has happened today, there is one thing I have to say to you. Tashinori looked down at the crying form of Izuku Midoriya with the sun at his back and the wind blowing through his hair. Young man, you too can be a hero. Izuku sobbed even louder. It was one thing to hear a voice in his head tell him, but to hear that phrase from his idol and the #1 hero was something completely different. I ain't just some voice in your head, kid. The mysterious man known as Ban spoke in Izuku's mind again. Izuku looked around trying to find the man again, but the only one he could see was All Might. Young Midoriya, are you alright? Did you lose something? Tashinori said, noticing the boy's peculiar action. Oh, it's nothing, I just thought I heard something. Okay, well then, he cleared his throat. I deem you worthy of inheriting my power. My quirk is yours to inherit. Huh, what do you mean? Haha, don't worry, I'm not going to force it on you. This is your choice. Do you want to accept my awesome power or not? Tashinori yelled while spewing blood. What is he talking about? What's this about? Izuku thought. Maybe you should let him finish talking first. Ban said. There it is again, Izuku wondered. Tashinori continued and explained the nature of his quirk. He encouraged me so much. He even trusted me with the secret of his quirk. How can I turn him down? Izuku thought to himself as he closed his eyes, crying once more. I'm sorry, kid, but you're gonna have to turn him down. Izuku opened his eyes to find it was pitch black again, and instead of All Might in front of him, Ban stood there with a neutral expression. Ban, so you are real? What do you mean I have to turn him down? Oh, I'm definitely real, kid. Now that you aren't in danger, I can explain things to you. Tell me, have you ever heard of the 7 deadly sins? Izuku's face widened in shock. Of course I have. They were a legendary group that protected the world from destruction at the hands of demons. Each one represented a deadly sin and was very powerful. There are stories of them everywhere, but I thought they were just legends. Well, they aren't. They actually existed. I should fully introduce myself. Name's Ban, the Fox, sin of greed, and you are my reincarnation. Oh my God, the sins were real. That brings up so many questions. If the sins were real, then the demons must have been too. But what happened to them? Are they still around, or are they all gone? Wait, did you say reincarnation? Izuku was broken out of his mumble rant by what Ban said. Ban smirked. Man, you really are something, kid. Years ago, we fought the Demon King and won, but he promised he would return. So to prepare for this, Merlin, one of the sins, cast a spell that would bound to our souls, and we would reincarnate into a compatible person once the Demon King was reincarnated. And unfortunately, it seems he is considering that I am here and you have that fox tattoo on your stomach. Izuku raised his shirt to see what Ban was talking about, and sure enough, there was a red tattoo of a fox on the left side of his stomach. Izuku was about to speak, but Ban stopped him. Let me finish before you go into one of your mumbling fits. Izuku closed his mouth and let Ban continue. You were greedy for a quirk and a chance to be a hero. That's why my soul resonated with you. Now listen closely, cause I'm only going to explain this once. As my reincarnation, you will gain some of my traits and my powers. That's what happened in the street. I used to be immortal, and part of that immortality was passed to you. You can take almost any damage and regenerate it back, but it is not full immortality. Your brain must stay intact. Any damage caused to your brain will not heal. The other part is my magic ability called Snatch. Snatch allows you to steal anything that you can carry, as well as steal the strength and physical abilities of those around you. And as you saw before, part of the reincarnation means a merging of our souls. Don't worry, you will still be you, but our personalities will start to mix a bit. Alright, I hope you got all that, kid. Now as to why you can't accept his power. Your body already has my soul and my power within it, and judging by the way his power sounds, you would not be able to accept it. Oh, okay, but what do I tell All Might? I don't know, just tell him the truth. It's not like it's supposed to be a secret. Now get going. I've already talked way too much. Izuku nodded, not really knowing how to leave, but just closed his eyes anyway. When he opened his eyes, he was back on the street, with All Might staring down on him. Are you okay, young Midoriya? You blanked out and weren't responding. So are you going to accept my power or not? Aye. I'm sorry, All Might. I can't. It's not that I don't want to. It's just that, well, have you ever heard of the 7 deadly sins? Izuku explained to All Might everything that Ban told him. I see. To think that the legends were true. It is upsetting to hear that you can't accept my power, and I am worried about this Demon King returning, but no matter. I won't give you my power, but I do still want to help you if you let me. I hope this has nothing to do with AFO. If they are connected, then it means he is still alive, but that can't be, All Might thought. You do. Yes, I can help train your body to get used to this new power and get you ready for the UA entrance exam. Oh my God, I'm really going to be trained by All Might. What will we do? How will we train? Is it going to be hard? Easy. Oh, maybe we'll spar and jump around the buildings, just like he. Quit your mutter, kid. All Might interrupted another one of his muttering fits. Geez, I get that you're excited, but calm down a little bit. Listen, I have to go, but meet me at Takoba Beach tomorrow morning. We'll start your training then. Now get some rest. I'm sure your mother is worried about you. Izuku stared for a moment before his eyes widened. Oh God, I forgot about Mom. She's probably flooding the house right now. I better go. Bye, All Might, and thank you so much for this. You won't regret it. He bowed before running off down the street. Toshinori looked at the kid before rubbing his head and sighing. That kid has a long way to go, but he's got a good heart. He really was the perfect candidate for my power. Oh well, maybe I'll continue looking into young Mirio like Mirai suggested. All Might said as he stared at the sunset. Wait, did he say flood the house? Izuku rushed back to the small apartment he and his mom shared. He quickly opened the door and took his shoes off. I'm home. Right as he turned around, he was met with a large and fast figure grabbing him and crushing him in a hug. Izuku. His mother wailed as she pulled him as close as she could. I was so worried. When I heard about what happened from Mitsuki, I didn't know what to think. Please never do that to me again. Good thing I was here, otherwise she would have flooded the whole complex. Izuku struggled out of his mother's grip to see who else was there. Behind his mother, Izuku found Katsuki with his arms crossed pouting, and his mother Mitsuki with a wide grin, both sitting at the kitchen table. Hey Zuku, I know my brat would never actually do it, but let me say thank you for saving his ungrateful ass. Mitsuki said as Katsuki somehow pouted even harder. Oh, really, it wasn't anything. To be honest, I don't know why I did it. My legs just started moving on my own. Is that so? Well, no matter the reason, it was a good thing you were there and that your quirk finally kicked in. Izuku tilted his head in confusion. Quirk? Yeah, your quirk. That's how you were able to do all those things and save Katsuki. All right, well, I don't know if this is going to work, but hey, Ban, can I tell them? Izuku spoke in his mind. Tell whoever you want, kid. I may be here, but it's your life and your body. And like I said earlier, it's not meant to be a secret. Ban answered in his head. Izuku nodded, then continued. It's not a quirk. What? The three other people in the room responded in confusion, and one of them with anger. It's not a quirk. How do I explain this? Well, let me just start from the beginning. Izuku then told them everything that had happened that day, minus the parts with All Might. I see. Now everything makes sense. Good thing you got that regeneration thought, Mitsuki said, taking in what Izuku told them. Damn, Deku. So that's how you survived getting stabbed 3 times in the chest. Katsuki yelled. What? Inko yelled before fainting. Damn, Brett, I was specifically not telling her that detail, Mitsuki said as she hit the back of Katsuki's head. Ow. Damn hag, what was that for? He yelled, holding his head. Who are you calling a hag, brat? She yelled, hitting him again. Izuku sighed. This was going to be a long night. The next morning, Izuku woke up early to meet All Might at Takoba Beach. When he arrived, he found All Might waiting for him in gym clothes surrounded by mountains of trash. All Might, why are we in a junkyard? Izuku asked curiously. Good question, my boy. Hero work isn't always about fighting villains and saving people. Sometimes it's the little things that make a difference. So for your training, you will clean this entire beach. Not only will you build muscle, you'll be providing service to this community. Now, before we begin, I'd like you to explain everything you know about your new powers. Don't spare me any details. Izuku's mouth dropped when All Might told him he would clean the entire beach, but he composed himself to answer his new mentor. All right, so firstly, I have partial immortality. I can regenerate any damage I take aside from damage to my head. Wait, if I regenerate all damage, then would I even be able to get stronger? You build muscles by tearing them and having them grow stronger. So then I wouldn't be able to train at all, and I'm going to have the same body forever. All right, kid, I'm just going to take over here. Ban interrupted Izuku's muttering rant. Wait, what? Izuku slumped over for a second before straightening back up with red eyes. Okay, I'm going to explain everything to you, old man, because Izuku is just going to go off on his mutter sprees otherwise, so listen up. Old man, would I be correct to assume that you are Ban? The pro hero asked, concerned for his pupil. Yeah, I took temporary control from the kid because he was muttering like crazy. I'll put him back once I'm done explaining things, so listen up. Izuku can regenerate any major damage sustained unless it's to his brain. Any damage there is permanent. Any other injuries will heal, but they won't be as fast. Basically, for the small things, his healing factor is boosted, and for the major things, he's immortal. All Might nodded his head to show that he was listening. Next is my magic. Magic? Yes, it's similar to what you call quirks. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if quirks developed as an offshoot of magic. But anyway, my magic is Snatch. It allows me to steal anything that I can see, whether it be physical items, people's strength, or their senses. Izuku has also gained some of my speed and is generally very fast now. That's all for now. I had another ability, but I have no clue if the kid will ever obtain it. As time goes on and our souls merge more and more, he will have my full capabilities. But right now, he's still a scrawny little kid. So I'm asking you to train him up as much as you can. Ban asked the hero. All Might nodded in response. All right, that's all I got, so take care of the kid. Ban raised his hand in a wave before Izuku's body slumped again and his eyes returned to normal. Sorry about that, All Might. I didn't know Ban could do that. It's all right, my boy. Ban explained everything about your new power, so now let's get started. Right. Izuku was struggling to pull a fridge across the sand as All Might was sitting on top of the fridge. Man, this fridge is so comfy to sit on, All Might teased. It'd be easier if you didn't weigh so much. Izuku growled before he used Snatch to steal strength from All Might and pull the fridge forward, causing All Might to be knocked off the fridge. Understandable, but young Midoriya, I don't want you using Snatch to move things. That would defeat the purpose of your training. All Might scolded. Izuku realized what he did and panically apologized. I'm sorry, All Might. I'm still getting used to the personality merge, he said, rubbing the back of his head. No worries, my boy. This is part of training as well. Getting used to the merge is important along with learning to use your power, but right now we need to work on getting you in shape. Right. Over the next 10 months, Izuku slowly cleared the beach and worked on his body. He grew more comfortable with the merge, and now his personalities have mixed instead of swapping like a switch. He still has his same unique quirks, but now is more confident and intolerant to bullshit. While this has caused a few issues in school, nobody really messed with him once he told them all off and showed off his new powers. The merge has also affected his body more. He has now grown to 6 feet 2 inches, and his physique has started to resemble Ban's, but still looks like himself. He now has a better grasp of his power and can use it effortlessly now. He even discovered that he can steal body parts. Though he doesn't want to use that ability, especially after he discovered it, when he almost stole All Might's heart by accident. One day, Izuku decided to help his mother out. Hey mom, I want to thank you for everything you do, so why don't I make dinner for us tonight? Oh, that's very sweet of you, sweetie, but are you sure you can handle it? I was planning on inviting the Bakugos over tonight as well. That's fine, the more the merrier. I can handle it. Apparently Ban was a master chef in his life, so I should be fine. Okay, sweetie. Izuku smiled, then went to prep dinner for 5. It had been a bit since he had seen the Bakugos, so he wanted to make sure that it went well. His and Katsuki's relationship would never be the same as it once was, but it was better than it had been in years. After explaining everything that happened, Izuku and Katsuki had a long talk, and through a lot of yelling, some confessions, and some motivation from Mitsuki, the two reconciled and began to rebuild the friendship they once lost. Katsuki still acts the same way, but his comments to Izuku are more from a rivalry point than a bullying point. There were even a couple times that the two sparred together because Katsuki wanted to test how immortal you really are. Once he was done prepping everything, the doorbell rang. He answered the door and was greeted by the Bakugos waiting outside. Oh my god, Zuku, look at you, so tall and muscly. That merge really did wonders for you. Mitsuki complimented as she hugged the teen. Thanks, Auntie, but it wasn't just Ban. I also did a lot of training myself. He responded, returning the hug. Ha ha ha, I'm sure you did. You and Katsuki are still getting along, right? I know you guys worked some things out, but the brat won't tell me anything when I ask. Yeah, we're doing fine. Isn't that right, Goela? Izuku said, smirking. Deku, Katsuki growled. Well, come on in. I'll have dinner ready in a bit, Izuku said, leading the three into the apartment. Are you going to be cooking for us, Izuku? Masaru asked. Yes, I am, uncle. I wanted to help out mom, so I decided that I would make dinner tonight. PFT, like you would ever be able to cook something edible, Deku. Katsuki scoffed. Actually, Ban was a master chef in his life. Izuku responded with a shit-eating grin. He then began to work on dinner at a fast pace. So much so that his arms seemed to move rapidly at super speed. Izuku. Izuku turned his head around, but his arms were still working at the same pace. What? Are you sure that you should be working that fast? Masaru asked. Oh yeah, this is nothing. This speed is a part of my abilities. Katsuki had enough and slammed his hands on the table while standing up. Damn, Deku. You won't get farther than me. I help make dinner and do it better than you, he declared. Sure thing, Goela. You can cut the onions. Don't tell me what to do, nerd. Katsuki yelled as he started to cut the onions at the same speed that Izuku was going. They continued this for the next hour or so, and finally, when they were done, there were 5 people's worth of katsudon ready to eat. MHHMM, Zuku, this is amazing, Mitsuki said as she held her face in delight. Yes, I am very surprised. I know you said that Ban was a master chef, but I didn't think he would be this good, Masaru added. It might even be better than my katsudon. Inko laughed. I don't know about that, Izuku responded. I did a great job, but your katsudon is the best, mom. I helped with it too, Deku, Katsuki yelled. Yes, Gilla, you did a great job cutting the onions. Do you want a cookie, sweetie? The group laughed as Katsuki sat down, grumbling to himself. So boys, do you think you're ready for the entrance exam? Of course I'm ready, old man. I'm gonna ace this test and get the top score, so don't think about trying to beat me, Deku, Katsuki answered. I don't know, Goela. I am pretty strong now. Who knows? I might end up stealing that spot from you. Izuku said with his new signature shit-eating grin. You watch Deku. I will get the top spot, and you won't stop me. Katsuki grinned. I wouldn't have it any other way. So is this normal for them? Inko whispered to Mitsuki. Yeah, but hey, it's better than they were before. Mitsuki whispered back. The two laughed as they looked at the two boys silently challenging one another. Today was the day of the UA entrance exam. Izuku was standing on the beach early in the morning admiring his cleanup work. The beach now looked beautiful as the morning sun reflected off the water onto the now trash-free sand. I'm surprised to see you here, my boy, Toshinori said, coming up behind the pseudo-immortal. I'm just reflecting on my progress. It's been a long 10 months. The boy said. Yes, it has, but look at you now. You are not the same scrawny kid you were when we started, Toshinori said, showing the teen a picture of him struggling at the beginning of the 10-month period. You know you're lucky that I can't steal data. Izuku replied, annoyed by the photo. Haha, yes, I suppose I lucked out on that fact. So what are you doing here, Toshisan? Much like you, my boy, I came here to reflect over the time since I met you, and maybe to find you here. I wanted to see you and wish you luck before the exam. It is disappointing that you are unable to receive my power, though. You would have made a great successor, but I am still proud of your progress nonetheless. Izuku just smiled back at his mentor. Oh yeah, that reminds me. If I could take one for all, how would I even receive it? Well, I would make a speech about earning this power before plucking out my hair like this. All Might said, going into his buff form and pulling a strand of his hair out. And holding it out to you, I would say, eat this. Izuku blinked in confusion for a second before retorting to the man. What? That's how it is transferred. He yelled. Yes, one for all needs to be transferred willingly via the user's DNA, and I figured this would be the least disgusting way to do it. Right, well anyway, thanks All Might. I'm gonna get to the exam. Don't want to be late. Good luck, my boy. All Might waved at the boy as he ran off at inhumane speeds. Like he needs the luck anyway. He laughed to himself. Izuku stood in front of UA admiring the building. This is it. I never thought that I would actually get the chance to achieve my dream, but here I am. I have you to thank for that, man. It wasn't just me, kid. You worked hard to get to where you're at. Now go get him. The voice shouted. Right here, IG. Right as he took a step, Izuku's foot caught on the other, and he started falling towards the ground. Goddamn son of a bye. Suddenly, his whole body stopped in mid-air with Izuku confused until he heard a voice. Sorry about using my quirk on you. I just think it wouldn't be right for you to hurt yourself before the exam. A girl with brown hair and a bob cut repositioned him before putting all her fingers together with a smile. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. Forgive me, but I would like to know the name of my savior. Oh, it's Ochako Uraraka, she said, blushing a bit. Izuku Midoriya. We better get in there. Good luck on the test, pink cheeks, he said, leaving the girl a blushing mess. That was pathetic, Deku, Katsuki said, walking past Izuku. Oh, you're just mad that you can't get a girl, Guela. Why would I even want one? They'd only slow me down. Maybe you'd be better off with a guy, Izuku stated with his grin. Shut up, you damn Deku. Katsuki stormed off, leaving Izuku laughing. Once Present Mike was done explaining, and that one kid pulled the stick out of his ass, Izuku arrived at Battle Center B for his practical. He looked around at the other kids taking the exam and saw all new quirks he had never seen before. He saw the kid with glasses stretching his legs with exhaust pipes sticking out of his calves. He also saw the brunette girl he met earlier and was going to walk towards her, but then he saw her. There was a purple-haired girl about 5 feet 2 inches with what looked to be headphone jacks coming from her earlobes. She was wearing a fitting purple tracksuit and a pair of black track pants. Izuku was frozen in place, just staring at the beauty in front of him. You better cool it, kid. Unless you want to do the exam with a hard-on. Ban said. I know, but I just have never seen someone like her before. I know that look. You want to steal her, don't you? I don't like the term steal her, but I wouldn't mind getting to know her. Well, let's hope that she makes it into UA, then you'll have all the time to get to know her. For now, let's focus up on this exam. Right. Izuku got into a stance in front of the large metal doors. As soon as Present Mike yelled start, he sprinted off at high speeds into the mock city, leaving everyone else dumbfounded at the gates. He ran through the city searching for any robots until he found a group of 2 pointers coming towards him. He held out his hand and yelled Fox Hunt. One by one, the two pointers' heads came clean off and soared towards Izuku's hand. Hey, that was too easy. This exam will be a piece of cake. This sure is a fine crop of students this year, Vlad King said. Such versatile quirks. I'm sure plenty of them will make great heroes. Ectoplasm said. Look at that Bakugo kid. He's blasting through the bots like they are nothing. Powerloader pointed out. Yes, but my eye is on this boy, Nizu said, staring at Izuku on the screen. He is effortlessly taking out the robots as well as actively making sure those around him are okay. Definitely seems like hero potential. What's his quirk? Snipe said. Well, according to his file, he doesn't have one. What? But how? He is able to take the heads of the robots clean off and move people out of the way without touching them? Midnight asked. I do not know. We can find out answers after the test, but for now I think we better test the examinees. Nizu laughed maniacally as he pressed the large red button. All right, that should be enough points. I can probably relax till the exam is over, Izuku said as he was about to relax until the ground started to shake. What is that? He looked up to see a giant skyscraper robot. That must be the 0-pointer. No reason to fight that. I should get out of here. Help. Izuku stopped and looked to see Uraraka trapped under a piece of rubble. He looked around to see all the other kids running away. What the hell are they doing? They want to be heroes, yet they run away and don't help someone. Idiots, all of them. Izuku ran forward to help the girl and saw that at least one other person went to help her as well. Izuku almost froze when he saw that the purple-haired girl came to help, but he focused himself to make sure that Uraraka would be saved. He quickly ran over and pulled the rubble off of her. Can you stand? No, I think my ankle's broken, Uraraka said. I see. Here, take her and get her to safety, he told the purple-haired girl. Okay, but what are you going to do? She asked. I'm going to stop this thing. What? Are you crazy? There's no way you can stop that thing. Why do you even want to stop it? Why can't we just get away? Because there might be others that need help, and stopping this robot is the best way to protect everyone. Now stand back, Izuku said as he removed his jacket. Oh my, the purple-haired girl said, blushing while staring at his muscles. Izuku crouched down and then jumped into the air with a large amount of speed. This will really mess up my body, but I have to do this. This is what a hero would do. Izuku held his arms out and yelled, Hunter Fest. The purple-haired girl's eyes widened as she heard that phrase. Everyone within the exam area suddenly felt their strength start to leave their bodies. Izuku's body started to bulk up more as he raised his fist back and shot towards the giant bot. Vanishing kill. Izuku shot through the giant, cleaving its head clean off. Both the examinees and the teachers stared in shock at what the boy did as he now began falling towards the ground. Shit. I have no way to stop myself. I can't move after using Hunter Fest. If my head hits the ground, then I'm toast. Izuku closed his eyes, waiting for the impact of the ground, only for it to come sooner than he expected. Rising meteor. A star-shaped pillar rose up from the ground to catch Izuku and soften his fall. The pillar then lowered him back to the ground. Where have I heard that phrase before? Wait, it can't be, Izuku thought as his eyes widened. Once he was back on the ground, the purple-haired girl walked towards him. I wasn't sure if anyone else had come back yet, but I see that you are already causing mischief. Right, Ban? Hee, it's good to see you, Diane. So what's your name, beautiful? Iitis Akekyoka. She responded, blushing while trying to hide her face with her jacks. Izuku Midoriya. You have a cute name, was the last thing he said before his world went dark. Izuku woke up in a white room littered with medical supplies. Sitting up and looking around, he instantly realized that he was in a nurse's office. What happened? What about the test? Is that girl all right? Where's Diane? He rambled off before being stopped by a cane hitting his head. Quiet fool. The little woman Izuku recognized as Recovery Girl scolded. The exam is over. You were brought here due to the injuries you sustained. I was going to heal you once you woke up, but it seems that ability of yours beat me to it. That girl you saved is fine. She just broke her ankle and had a minor concussion, so I healed her up and she went home. That other girl that saved you wanted to come with you, but I told her to go home and rest up, but she gave me this paper to give to you before she left. Does that answer all your questions, young man? She said, staring into him. Yes, thank you. Good. Now, get out of my office. and I don't want to see you here again. Just because you're partially immortal doesn't mean you can keep showing up here. She yelled with a wave of her cane. Right. Wait, how did you know I was partially immortal? That big buffoon came running in here looking for his pupil. I assumed that you were the fox and boy he talked about. Wait, you know All Might. Of course, dear. I'm the one who did his operation after his battle. I also know about One for All. I was worried that he had given it to you based on your actions in the exam, but it seems he didn't. Honestly, I don't know if that power can even be passed on anymore. She sighed. Izuku just looked at the lady in wonder and slight fear. What are you still doing here? Go home, she yelled, hitting him with her cane again. Yes, ma'am, Izuku said, rushing out of the room. That boy is going to give me so many headaches I can just tell. Ha ha ha, that old lady really gave you a kid. Ha ha ha, Ban laughed. She was scary, Ban. I'd like to see you try and face her, Izuku replied. Anyway, congratulations, kid. What for? You did good out there, taking down all those robots and helping people, not to mention showing off for your girl. I wasn't showing off. Plus, she's not my girl. I don't even know if she is into me or not, Izuku yelled, embarrassed. Well, she certainly enjoyed it when you took your shirt off in front of her, Ban said, causing Izuku to blush even further. Izuku couldn't see him but could tell that Ban was wearing a shit-eating grin right now. Although I didn't think she would turn out to be Diane. Ban finished. All right, I have her number. I should call her and figure out a way for us to talk, Izuku said, pulling out his phone before Ban could retort. He dialed the number on the piece of paper and waited for the girl to pick up. It rang for a minute before he heard a voice on the other end. Hello? Diane. Ban. Yes, hi. Hi. Listen, we need to talk. About a lot of things. Is there any place where we could meet up and talk? Where do you live? I live in Mustafu, but my parents probably wouldn't be okay with me bringing a boy they never heard of over. Plus, I haven't told them about everything yet, and my mom will most definitely try to eavesdrop. Well, I also live in Mustafu, so we could go to my place. My mom already knows everything, so we wouldn't have to worry about being secretive. My address is... That's not too far from me, so I'll see you later then. It's a date, beautiful, Izuku said as he hung up, but laughed at the girl's tiny squeak at his comment. Real smooth kid, Ban laughed. I can be smooth when I want to be. I have you to blame for that. Yeah, you better get home quick though. No doubt your mom's gonna flood the apartment when she hears a girl is coming over. Shit, you're right, I need to turn the hoses on beforehand, Izuku said as he sped back home. Izuku made sure all the precautions in the apartment were set before telling his mother the situation. As expected, she did flood the apartment, but due to Izuku acting ahead of time, it wasn't bad. After that, Izuku elected to sit on the couch and look at Hero News on his phone. A couple of hours later, and the teen heard a knock at his door. He got up and opened it to see a familiar purple-haired girl, only this time, she had a light purple graphic tee and a black skirt on, as well as a pair of black boots and fishnet leggings. The girl also had a multitude of different bracelets and a black choker around her neck. Izuku stood stupefied at the girl's outfit for a moment before smirking and saying, Man, if I knew a beautiful girl was going to knock on my door, then I would have asked my mom to step outside for a couple hours. The girl was unable to respond due to her very red face and turned away with her head in her hands. Dude, your shirt, she stuttered out. Izuku looked at her confused until he looked down and saw that he was only in his shorts. Oh shit, hold on. The teen spoke as he held his hand out, and a shirt magically appeared in it, and then proceeded to put it on. It was just a simple white tee that had t-shirt written on the front. Sorry about that. I tend to be more casual around the house. You can blame Ban for that. Would you like to come in? The boy said, rubbing the back of his head embarrassingly. Sure. The girl quickly collected herself before walking into the apartment. Inko stood there ready to greet the duo as they walked in. So this is the girl my Izuku told me about, she said, looking at the girl. She then leaned towards Izuku and whispered, She's very pretty. You picked a good one. Mom, you know it's not like that. And she can hear you anyway with her quirk. Oh, I apologize. I didn't know. The women said, looking at the jacks protruding from the girl's ears. No, IIT's fine. I'm Kyokujiro. Thank you for having me. Jiro bowed with a blush from Inko's comment. Oh, it's no problem. Why don't you sit down? I'm sure you and Izuku have a lot to talk about. I'll make some snacks and tea, Inko said, walking to the kitchen. Thank you, Jiro said, sitting down across from Izuku. The two stared at each other in silence for a bit before Izuku spoke up. So you're Diane? Yep, and you're Ban, Jiro replied. Yep, so do we let them talk or? Oh, we can already talk with each other, kid. Ban spoke. Yeah, we've been catching up while you two were flirting. A new voice, which Izuku assumed was Diane, said. We weren't flirting, the duo said. Wait, why can I hear Diane? And why can I hear Ban? When Merlin cast the spell, she also made it to where we can talk to each other alone or with our reincarnations once we know who they are. Ban explained. Yep, Diane confirmed. He's cute, Kyoka. You should totally date him. Diane, that's not important right now. The girl yelled back, blushing. Izuku chuckled. Right? I guess we'll start with how we awakened. I'll go first. Izuku explained the situation with the slime villain. How his legs moved on his own. How he tried to stop the villain before getting stabbed 3 times, much to the shock and slight horror of Jiro. How Ban told him not to give up and his powers awakening to meeting with All Might. Wait. Are you sure you should be telling me about All Might's secret? Jiro asked. Yeah, it's fine. You're one of the sins, so we know that you are trustworthy. Plus, All Might already knows about the sins anyway. Izuku explained. Anyway, after that, All Might trained me, and I got more comfortable with my powers and gained some of Ban's traits like his suave. Sorry about all the flirting, by the way, Izuku said, rubbing the back of his head. No, it's fine, dude. I have Diane's memories, so I know how Ban can be. But man, that's a crazy set of events. And you said that you were quirkless? I can't imagine all the shit you must have gone through beforehand. You've definitely had it a lot harder than me. Just because my life has been hard doesn't mean that yours hasn't been hard either. I can tell by the way you said that you've had your own share of issues. Izuku said. Wow, he's really smart, huh? Diane said to Ban. Yeah, kid's got a big head on him for sure. Ban laughed. All right then, why don't I explain how I awakened? Jiro began. 5 months ago. Kyoko was walking down the street in her school uniform. School had just let out for the day, and the girl was heading home. Her purple phone sat in her hand, with her finger mindlessly scrolling. So where are you taking me? A peppy girl said behind Kyoko. Kyoko looked around to see a very pretty girl with long brown hair in the same uniform hugging the arm of a tall, lean, brown-haired guy with a smooth, handsome face walking by her. To a beautiful restaurant for the most beautiful girl, the guy replied, laying on the charm. Kyoko stared at the two with her eyes drifting towards the girl's chest. She then looked down at her own chest in disappointment. The young rocker continued comparing her body with the body of the girl, and every time was disappointed with the end result. Eventually, the young couple walked away, with Kyoko scowling at them. The girl sighed, and then continued walking. You'll never get a man with a body like that. You're not pretty enough. Hope all you want, but you're always going to be alone. Kyoko shook those thoughts from her head and tried thinking about something else to get her mind off of those girls in school. I need to start thinking about what I want to do. I'm really into my music, so I'll probably continue with that, but I don't know. I feel like I could do more. The girl continued to walk, lost in her thoughts until a large boom shook her out of them. She looked up to see a large cloud of dust in front of her, and once it cleared, there stood a villain with long hair and saw blades at the ends of his hair, and standing in front of the villain was the pro-hero Death Arms. Just try and stop me, heroes. I'm gonna saw down this whole rotten block. The villain laughed as he swung his head around with his blade hair crashing into the buildings around him. Your destruction ends here, villain, Death Arms called as he confronted him. Kyoko looked around and saw the other people viewing the incident and was surprised to see that they weren't scared at all. Some of them were even smiling. Were they all smiling because Death Arms was there? I wish I could make people smile like that, Kyoko thought to herself. Once again, she was broken from her thoughts by a crash of the saw blades against the buildings. Let's play a game, hero. How many people can you save? The villain cackled as he launched his hair towards the young couple Kyoko had seen earlier. The girl screamed as Death Arms rushed to protect the two. The hero was able to make it in time, but one of the saw blades got stuck in his arms for his troubles. Well done, hero. You passed the game, but now get ready for part 2. The villain yelled as he slashed a large chunk of a building off right above a little girl that was near the attack. No, Death Arms cried, not being able to reach the girl in time. Kyoko watched as time froze in front of her as the rubble slowly descended onto the helpless child. That girl is going to get hurt. But Death Arms can't reach her. Someone has to do something. Suddenly, Kyoko found herself running towards the girl, not knowing why she did it. Kyoko rushed and pushed the little girl out of the way right as the rubble crushed her instead. No, Death Arms yelled. Ha ha ha, stupid girl wanted to play hero. And just like the rest of them, she died like an idiot. The villain continued to laugh until he heard the rubble move. What? Unexpectedly, the rubble burst off, flying towards the villain, who sliced it apart with his blades. He looked back to see who dared to throw that at him, but to his surprise, he saw the same girl that he thought he crushed. Kyoko herself was just as shocked as she looked at her body to see if anything was wrong. What the? She said in confusion as she saw that her entire body was now a shade of gray. That's not fair, the villain cried. Be a good little victim and stay dead. He then launched his remaining hair saws at Kyoko, who just put her arms up to block, expecting to be shredded. To both of their surprises once again, the blades bounced off Kyoko's skin with a metal clunk. How? Kyoko asked herself until she randomly seemed to get a burst of adrenaline and somehow knew what to do. She started performing hand signs and then put her hands into the ground, yelling out sand whirl. The ground beneath the villain started turning into sand, and the villain started to sink into it. What the hell? What did you do? He yelled. Once again, he tried throwing his hair blades at Kyoko, but this time the girl caught them. Let go, you dumb bitch. Death Arms now. Kyoko called as the hero took the opportunity to rush forward and punch the trapped villain, knocking him out. Seeing as the villain was dealt with, Kyoko let out a breath she didn't know she was holding as the gray was slowly leaving her skin. Well, I guess that's how I turn it off. Hey you. Death Arms called to the girl. Try and leave it to the pros next time. Thank you though. Your quirk really came through there. What is it if you don't mind me asking? Honestly, I have no idea. I thought my quirk was just my jacks. I have no clue how I did any of that. The girl responded. Strange. Anyway, that was some real courage there. I don't know if it's what you were interested in, but you'd make a pretty good hero. Well, I better help get this guy into custody. Try and get home safe now, you hear? Yes, I will, thank you, sir. Kyoko bowed as the man walked away. Being saved by 2 kids in the past 5 months. I think I'm losing my touch. The hero thought to himself. Phew, at least that's over. The girl said to herself. Why did I do that? And how did I do that? She pondered as Death Arms' words popped up in her head. A hero, huh? The girl hummed in thought. So is now a good time for me to explain? A voice said in Kyoko's head. Ah. And that's how it happened. Kyoko finished as Izuku was holding his stomach in laughter. What's so funny? I'm sorry, hee I tease, just hee you went through all that only for Diane casually asking if she can speak to make you scream is so funny, haha. The boy continued to laugh a bit more before he stopped and wiped his eyes. Sorry about that. My humor is all mixed up cause of the merge. It's fine. I know that it was more banned than you anyway. I mean, it was pretty funny. Shut it, Diane. Anyway, what should we do now? Not much we can do. We don't know where the rest of the sins are, or even if they awakened yet, and we have no lead on the Demon King either. Let's just keep in touch and train together till we get our UA letters. Izuku said. All right, sounds like a plan. Thanks for having me, but I'd better get home. I'm sure my mom will question where I've been. The girl stood up and bowed. You should tell them tonight. Yeah, I think I will. Well, see ya. Kyoko took a step out of the apartment when. You know you really are beautiful. And that's not the band talking. Izuku said. The girl blushed and said nothing as she closed the door. She sighed as she leaned against the door, her heart beating a mile a minute. Yeah, as if. The girl then continued her walk home. It was a cool, brisk evening as Kyoko was returning home. The sky had begun to dim and the city's lights had started to come on. The Sin of Envy was strolling down the street following the path home, while her mind was stuck on what she had heard as she left the Midoriya residence. You know you really are beautiful. And that's not the band talking. Why would he say that? Was he playing a joke? But he said it wasn't band talking, and he looked serious when he said it. She thought. He must have been joking or just trying to make me feel better. There's no way he would actually think that of me. The girl concluded. You need to stop thinking like that, Kyoko. He said it because it's true. He probably also likes you. Isn't that great? You should date him. I know you like him too. I saw you stare at his abs, hee hee. The girl's face immediately erupted into a blush as she yelled back in her head. Shut up, Diane. I'll admit he is a bit of a looker, but just because he made the comment doesn't mean he likes me. He probably just wanted to reassure me after hearing my recollection. You do know you never told him about the interaction with the couple, right? What? You never said a word about you trying to compare yourself to that girl. He said that without knowing anything about your self-image issues. I truly think he likes you, but I can see that you are trapped in this delusion that you aren't pretty enough. I promise you, Kyoka, I will help you get over this as much as I can. The girl sighed in response. You meddle too much, Diane. I'll meddle as much as possible if it means helping my friends. Kyoka smiled at that. Thanks, Diane. You know it's kinda nice having someone to talk to all the time. Yeah, it is. Although you better get thinking fast cause we are home. The girl looked up to see that during their talk she had made it back home. She steeled herself before walking through the front door. I'm home. Welcome home, Mika said. Mika Juro was a short, thin woman in white-collared top, a black pencil skirt, and a set of grayish-purple leggings. A set of glasses sat upon her face as her ear-length purple hair sat with her bangs on the right side of her face. On her earlobes sat an identical set of audio jacks to those of Kyoka's. Now that you are back, mind telling me where you were? She said, smiling, although a hint of sternness in her voice. I told you, Mom, I went to a friend's house. Kyoka replied. I know I raised you well enough to know that you can't lie to me, literally. The weird thing is that you aren't lying. What I can't wrap my head around is the fact that I can't remember you having any friends. Uffed. Diane tried to hold back her laughter at Kyoko's mom calling her out like that. Now you know me and your father trust you to make the right decisions. But we noticed that you have been acting strangely lately, and we have been worried that something is up. Wow, your mom read you like a book, Diane said. Yes, she really did. Kyoka answered out loud, confusing Mika. Enough stalling, Kyoka. It's time to tell them. I know I'm getting to that. Kyoka yelled out loud once again. Okay, now I know something's up. Who are you talking to? Mika asked, concerned this time. Kyoka sighed. All right, I'll explain everything, but you and Dad might want to sit down. This'll take a while. So Mika and Kyotoku sat down and listened to their daughter's recollection of everything that happened. Naturally, they were a little skeptical at first, even though Mika could tell that she wasn't lying until Diane took over and talked to the two, as well as showing off her magic. Once Kyoka finished, she looked at her parents waiting for their response. Kyotoku was the first one to respond as he stood up and looked at the girl. Kyotoku was a middle-aged man with shaggy blonde hair that went past his shoulders. He wore a maroon-colored dress shirt with the top buttons undone and a pair of gray pants. His face had some edges that showed his age and wore a grimace on his face. The man stared at his daughter for a minute before uttering, "A boy. Dad. A boy. Dad, he's just a friend. His mother was there the whole time. You were at a boy's house. Where's he live? I swear if he tried anything, I'm gonerg." Kyotoku didn't get to finish that sentence as Mika stabbed him with her jacks, shocking him and causing him to fall down onto the floor. That's enough, dear, Mika said sternly, then sighed. Well, that's certainly a shocking set of events. I don't necessarily like that you were thrust into this ancient conflict and all, but I don't really have a choice in the matter, and I could tell through her voice that Diane genuinely cares for you, so I will trust that she'll keep you safe. Plus, I already expect you to get into danger since you want to be a hero and all. Just know that me and your father will support you any way that we can, just as we've always done. Now I'm sure you've had a long day, so we'll get out of your hair. Dinner is ready, so help yourself. Mika then stood up and started dragging Kyotoku's body towards the music studio in their home, all the while the man had swirls in his eyes and muttered, "Good night, Kyo." The girl shook her head and sighed while Diane laughed. Your parents are funny. I don't know why Dad always tries to put on the tough guy act. He's just trying to look out for you. I know, but does he have to be so annoying about it? It's what makes him unique. I ever tell you how overly optimistic you are? Every day? Right, just making sure. Kyoka laughed. The girl grabbed her dinner and made her way to her room. What a day? She sighed as she laid back onto her bed. So going back to our conversation earlier. Diane, no. There is nothing more to talk about. Your thoughts say otherwise. You've had his comment playing on repeat for hours now. Ugh, why is this so complicated? The girl yelled in defeat. He likes you. You like him. What's so complicated about that? It's not simple like that, Diane. While yes, I will admit I am physically attracted to him, and I did check him out a bit the couple of times his shirt was off, which now that I think about it, it is a little strange that it happened twice. Anyway, I just met him today, and no band does not count. I don't know anything about him other than his dedication to being a hero, which is very admirable. And frankly, I don't need to hear dating advice from you considering you were in love with a different man for years. Hey, I forgot. Plus, the captain saved my life. You'd fall for him too. Diane complained. Considering I'm not into the whole white knight trope, no, I would not. Well, here's an idea. If you are worried so much about his comment, why don't you just call him and ask? You need to find out when and where he wants to train anyway. PFT, I can't just call him and ask. The girl quickly sat up, gears turning in her head. I guess I can call him. Kyoka quickly found her phone and called the number she had recently added to her contacts. Plugging one of her jacks in, she listened to the ringing as she waited for him to pick up. Hello? The voice on the other end said. Hey, you do know it's late, right? Did something happen? No, I just was thinking that we said we would train while we wait for our results, but we never discussed when and where we would train. Kyoka responded, a slight blush on her face as she prepared to ask her next question. Oh yeah, I guess we never did say how we'd go about it. Izuku laughed. I usually train at Takoba Beach every day, so we can just go there after school. Does that work? Oh yeah, that should be fine. I'll just have to let my parents know. How'd that go, by the way? I take it your parents took it well? Yeah, they weren't necessarily happy that I now have an old giant in my head now, but it's not like they could control it, so they'll just support me however they can. What do you mean old? Diane questioned, offended while Kyoka laughed. That's good. My mom was the same way. Plus, I think me being semi-immortal helps ease her worries. Yeah, that'd do it. Well, it is late. Did you need anything else? This is a Kyoka. Just ask him. Taking a deep breath, the girl resolved herself and asked, what did you mean earlier when you said I was beautiful and it wasn't band talking? I really meant what I said. I think you look beautiful and I wanted you to know that it wasn't a flirt or something coming from band's side. It came from me, Izuku Midoriya. The boy sheepishly answered. Kyoka now had the biggest blush on her face as she processed his words. Thanks. Well, I should go. Why don't we start training tomorrow if that works for you? Sure. Well, good night then. Good night. The girl let her phone fall out of her hand onto her bed with her body following suit. She stared at the ceiling for what seemed like hours until Diane broke the silence. See, I told you he likes you. Yeah, there's no denying it after that. Kyoka responded, letting out a hefty sigh. Diane let out a yawn with Kyoka not bothering to wonder how a voice in her head could yawn. I'm gonna go sleep now. You should as well. We do have school tomorrow. Yeah, I'll get to sleep in a bit. Good night, Diane. Good night, Kyoka. For once, Kyoka was alone with her thoughts as she changed and got into her bed. Why would he like me? He seems to have a genuine and kind personality, and he's got the looks. He could probably go for any girl he wanted. So why me? What about me attracts him? She continued to lie there in silence for a few minutes until another thought popped in her head. Do I like him? There is definitely something there. But like I told Diane, I don't know anything about him. Maybe I should try and get to know him better when we train. I mean, we are going to be spending a lot of time, both of us being sins and all. Maybe I can even find out why he likes me. The girl turned in her bed in frustration. The girl's last thought as she drifted into dreamland was, ugh, this is so complicated. At least he seems to have everything in order. Everything is so not in order. Izuku yelled as he fell back into his bed with the biggest blush on his face. I shouldn't have said that. She probably thinks I'm weird now. You're thinking too much again, kid. Just let things happen. You like her, and it sounds like she might like you back, but it was hard to tell over the phone, so I don't know. Look, the point is that you have a big head on your shoulders, but you need to not spend so much time stuck in it. She never said or gave any clue that she thinks you're weird, so why worry about it? Think about something else. She said yes to training at the beach. This is your chance to get to know her since you don't want to steal her. Ban said, calming down Izuku. Enough with the stealing her crap, but you're right. Thanks, Ban, I needed that. I've always got your back, kid. Thanks. You know, it really is nice having someone to talk to, and is there for me all the time. All right, let's not get all sappy on me now. Izuku laughed before a thought popped in his head. Wait, are you okay with me pursuing Jiro? Why wouldn't I be? Well, you were with Elaine in your past life, and Diane was with King in hers. Wouldn't that make things awkward? Ban sighed before answering. Listen, kid, our past lives don't matter. While I guess the whole thing with the Demon King is important, our personal lives should not affect you. We are living in you, not the other way around. Your life is your life. Do what you want. Be with whoever you want. It does not matter. I'm sure King or Diane would have preferred that their reincarnations got together, and hell, I'd be thrilled if Elaine was somehow reincarnated and you got with her. But if you want to pursue Jiro, who just so happens to also be Diane, then go for it. Neither of us will stop you. Oh well, thanks, B. Quit it with the thanking, will ya? Ban yelled, startling Izuku. Just get to sleep. You do have school and training tomorrow after all. With that, Ban left Izuku alone with his thoughts. Why did she ask me to clarify what I said anyway? I thought it was pretty clear. Did I miss something? He thought before he looked at the time. Holy crap, it's late. I need to get to bed. The boy laid down and closed his eyes as he drifted off to sleep, thinking about the girl in question. For the next couple of weeks, Izuku and Kyoka trained together on Takoba Beach. When she first showed up, Kyoka was surprised to see the beach fully cleaned, as she always knew the place as a dump and had wondered why Midoriya had suggested it. Now she understood why. So what are we going to do first, Midoriya? Kyoka asked. Izuku. Huh. Call me Izuku. We're going to be working together for a while, and we technically already know each other, so I think we should drop the formalities. If you're okay with that, of course. Makes sense. You can call me Kyoka then. Great. I figured we start with seeing each other's powers and the level that they are at currently, Izuku said, leading her forward onto the sand. Kyoka was mesmerized as she watched the beads of sweat accumulated from their run to the beach bounce off his nicely toned body as he removed his shirt. Kyoka? Izuku asked, breaking the girl out of her stupor. Are you all right? The girl shook her head, trying to get rid of her blush before responding. Yes, sorry, was spaced out there for a sec. She quickly joined him in the sand, facing each other. All right then, let's get started. The two got into a stance as they began sparring and using their powers against each other. Every time Izuku got hit by one of Kyoka's attacks, the girl had to look away as the boy took the blow head on, watching his regeneration take place. They would continue this for a few hours before they would stop and head home. The beach training became a regular routine for the two the next couple of weeks, until their letters finally arrived, with the two opening them together. They were both surprised to see All Might give them their results, as he hadn't contacted them since the exam. He explained how he is going to be working at UA and continued relaying the rest of the script he was given to read. Izuku and Kyoka ended up getting first and second place respectively, with Izuku shocked to learn that he even beat All Might's score. Upon hearing that they got in, the two teens celebrated, with Kyoka grabbing Izuku for a hug, much to Izuku's surprise. Eventually, the days continued to pass, and finally the first day of the new school year was upon them. The two ended up meeting and walking to the school together, and now they stood looking up at the tall building. So this is it. We're finally here, Izuku said. Did you ever think we'd make it? Well, considering I didn't know you until a month ago, and I didn't decide to be a hero until about 6 months ago, so no, the chances were very low in my head. Kyoka responded. We should get going. I'd rather not be late on the first day. We'll be fine. Also, I ever tell you that uniform looks good on you? Izuku said, donning his signature shit-eating grin. Just shut up and keep walking. The girl responded with a blush. Izuku laughed as he followed behind her. The two continued walking until they came up to a large door with the writing 1A on it. Pretty big door. You think someone's actually had a need for it before? Izuku asked casually. Probably. There are plenty of quirks after all, Kyoka responded. Well, you don't have to worry, considering that your merge didn't do anything about your height, hehe. Izuku teased, holding his hand above her head. She did gain a couple of inches, but while standing at 5 feet 2 inches, she was still a foot smaller than Izuku. The girl pouted and ignored the fox-in smirk as she walked forward and opened the door to the classroom. Take your feet off that desk immediately. Oh, it's the stuck-up from the exam, Izuku said bluntly. My name is Tinya Ida. While I don't condone your bluntness, I must commend you for your performance in the entrance exam. You clearly understood the objective better than me when you ran to help that girl. Bowing towards Izuku was a rather tall young man with a head of flattened down blue hair. A set of glasses adorned his face, and he appeared to be as stiff as a board. Not really. I didn't know shit going into the exam. I just saw someone was in trouble and went to help. I'm Izuku Midoriya, by the way. Izuku said while picking up the boy from his bowing. No need for commending. I'm just a normal guy. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you, he said, looking at everyone in class. Kyoka, having nothing to add, just stayed quiet next to Izuku. I see you made it in Deku, Katsuki said, getting up and throwing a weak punch at Izuku. Deku, Kyoka thought, confused at the nickname. Of course I made it in. Wouldn't be caught dead losing to you, Guela. Izuku shot back, easily catching the punch. Guela. Now Kyoka was even more confused, but before she could question the boy. Oh, I recognize that curly hair, a voice said behind them. The group turned to look at the door, and Izuku and Kyoka recognized the brown-haired girl from the entrance exam. Oh hey, you made it in 2 pink cheeks, Izuku said, causing Uraraka to blush. I never got the chance to do this, but thank you both for saving me, the girl said, bowing to the two. No thanks necessary. Just doing what I think is right. Seeing that everyone is here, we better quiet down before our teacher gets annoyed, Izuku replied as he snapped his fingers, and everyone's voices suddenly went quiet, much to the confusion of the students. Okay, teach, the class is all yours, he said, sitting down while the rest of the class looked towards the door to find what looked to be a yellow caterpillar. What is that? The majority thought. The caterpillar stood up and unzipped his cocoon to reveal a disheveled man with black scruffy hair and bags under his eyes. He wore a black shirt, a pair of combat pants, and boots, both also black. He also wore a gray scarf around his neck. I'm surprised you noticed me. Good job, but next time don't use your quirk on the class, Midoriya, the man said while Izuku just nodded. It took you all 8 seconds before Midoriya had to quiet you down. Not good enough. This is the hero course. Time is important. I'm your homeroom teacher, Shota Aizawa. Nice to meet you. This may be sudden, but put these on and meet me out in the field, he explained before handing everyone a set of gym uniforms. Once everyone had changed and was out on the field, Aizawa told the class what they would be doing. A quirk assessment test? Everyone shouted. But sir, what about the entrance ceremony? Or orientation? Uraraka asked. As I said before, you don't have time to be attending such leisurely events. Here at UA, we teachers are allowed to teach our classes as we see fit. You all took these tests in junior high, but they didn't allow you to use your quirks. Today we will be testing the limits of your quirks by performing these tests. Midoriya, you got first place in the entrance exam. Deku, it was you, you bastard, Katsuki yelled in annoyance. Aizawa ignored the boy and continued. What was your best result for the softball throw in junior high? 15 meters. Izuku responded, embarrassed, causing Katsuki, Kyoka, and a few others to snicker. This time try it with your quirk. You can do anything as long as you stay within the circle. Izuku nodded and walked up to the indicated spot. He took a deep breath and then raised his hand towards the class, calling out, "Physical hunt." The class and even Aizawa started to feel their strength leave their bodies as Izuku reeled his arm back and threw the ball with all the strength he had stolen. The class and Aizawa watched as the ball flew through the air with a loud boom, breaking the sound barrier, much to the confusion of Aizawa, who was looking at the boy with his eyes a deep red. Deactivating his quirk, Aizawa showed a tablet with the score to the class. You should all know your maximums first. 1252 meters. The class yelled. Why didn't my quirk work on him? I'll get to the bottom of this later, Aizawa thought. Wow, this looks fun, the pink-skinned girl known as Mina Ashido said. Awesome. We can use our quirks as much as we want, a black-haired kid with strange elbows named Hantasiro said. Fun, huh? Aizawa responded. Are you going to keep that attitude the entire 3 years that you are here? Very well then. Whoever comes in last in these tests will be considered a lost cause and be expelled from the hero course. What? It's the first day of school. That isn't fair, Uraraka complained. Natural disasters, large accidents, villain attacks, any of those sound fair to you? It will be your job as heroes to combat this unfairness. For the next 3 years, you will face hardship after hardship. So go beyond. Plus ultra. Aizawa finished, igniting a fire within all of the students as they started the rest of the tests. 50-meter dash. Izuku was up against Katsuki as both boys waited at the start line. Get ready to lose, Deku, and you better not sap my strength again for this. Katsuki threatened. Wouldn't dream of it, Guela. Although I do wonder how well you will enjoy the view of my ass as I beat you. Izuku replied with a grin, causing Katsuki to growl in annoyance. The bang went off, and Katsuki launched himself forward with his explosions while Izuku used his natural speed to zip towards the finish line. Izuku stuck his tongue out at Katsuki as the robot called out his time. 2.34 seconds. 4.13 seconds. The robot read for Katsuki as the boy grew angrier. Kyoka was up against a black-haired girl who pulled a moped out of nowhere and used it to cross the finish line with 3.16 seconds. Kyoka used the ground to shift herself forward, getting a time of 3.89 seconds. Grip strength. 540 kilograms. Are you a gorilla or something? Zero admired the boy with multiple arms. Izuku raised his hand and smirked at the machine that read 616 kilograms, before looking over at Kyoka, shocked to see her machine say 732 kilograms. Wow, small but mighty, I see. He teased, earning him a jack in his neck from Kyoka. Shut up, the girl said, embarrassed. Standing long jump. Izuku bent down and took a large leap, easily clearing the sand pit in one go. Kyoka created a large pillar of rock to shoot herself forwards, also clearing the sand pit. Repeated side steps. No one seemed to do well in this aside from a very small boy with purple balls on his head who bounced back and forth rapidly on said balls. That was until it was Izuku's turn, who used physical hunt to steal the speed of his classmates and moved so fast that he was creating a shimmering afterimage. Kyoka's turn involved her rapidly shifting the ground under her back and forth, also beating the small kid. Ball throw. Izuku, having already done this test, sat back as Katsuki took his turn. I'll beat you here, Deku. Die, he shouted as the ball rocketed from his explosion before landing and giving him a score of 705 meters. Oh, better luck next time, Goella. Izuku once again teased, adding to the blonde's frustration. When it was Kyoka's turn up, the girl dropped the ball as another diagonal pillar of rock shot out, hitting the ball and launching it, earning her a score of 632 meters. Sit UPS. No one really had an advantage here, but Izuku did last longer than everyone else due to his large amount of stamina. Seated toe touch. Kyoka was a bit disappointed with herself for not getting a better score, but was surprised to see Izuku score the highest. Mr. Flexible, huh? She questioned. Kinda get to be really flexible when you constantly regenerate and are partially immortal. So could you turn yourself into a pretzel? She jokingly asked. I can if you want me to. He replied back with a toothy grin. Nope, moving on. She cut off the conversation there as Izuku laughed. Long distance run. Once again, Izuku's seemingly unlimited stamina won out here as he easily lasted the longest, even keeping up with Ida, who had engines in his legs, and the black-haired girl Momo Yaoyorozu, who rode her moped again. Once all the tests were finished, the class gathered around Aizawa. It'd be a waste of time to tell you all of your individual scores, so here are the totals. The man explained as he brought up the rankings. Izuku Midoriya, Momo Yaoyorozu, Kyokujiro, Shoto Todoroki, Katsuki Bakugo, Tinya Ida, Fumikage Tokoyami, Mizo Shoji, Masahiro Ojiro, Eijiro Kirishima, Mina Ishido, Ochako Uraraka, Koji Koda, Rikido Sato, Tsuyu Azui, Yugo Aoyama, Hantashiro, Denji Kaminari, Toru Hacker, Minoru Mineta. No, this can't be happening. How am I going to get my harem now? The small boy cried, much to the disgust of the rest of the class. Hold on, Mineta, you're safe. Isn't that right, Eraserhead? Izuku said. Aizawa's mouth almost held a smirk before responding. Yes, I was lying about expelling anyone. It was a logical ruse to get you all to perform your best. It was obviously a lie, Yaoyorozu said. With that, we are done here. The important papers that you all should look through are on your desks, Aizawa said, leaving the class to their own devices. Why didn't you tell us it was a ruse? Ishido complained to Yaoyorozu. I thought it was obvious and that everyone else could see it. The girl explained to the detriment of the class. Maybe not. Izuku added, getting the attention of the class. He was lying about it being a ruse, right? He said, turning to Kyoka. Oh, definitely. What do you mean? Yaoyorozu asked, confused. I've had enough experience to understand someone's intentions by looking at them, and Kyoka here can hear people's heartbeats with her jacks and tell if they're lying. He explained, gesturing to the girl who nodded in confirmation. He was telling the truth when he said he would expel the lowest scorer. However, he must have seen enough potential in us to not expel anyone. So you are off the hook for now, Mineta? The short boy cried in happiness until Izuku was suddenly in front of him with a deadly grin, whispering so only Mineta could hear him. You better clean up your act, though. I heard what you said and saw how you have been looking at the other girls in this class. Keep it up, and you'll find I've taken more than just your strength. He threatened before walking away as the purple ball user fell to his knees trembling. Wow, you're so manly, Midoriya. Hey, what's your quirk? The red-haired boy called Kirishima asked. My quirk is called Snatch. It allows me to steal anything that I can see within a certain radius. This also includes intangible things like the senses or my opponent's strength. That's how I took everyone's voices in the classroom earlier. Wow, that's so cool. No wonder you're so strong. Kirishima said, astonished. That was nothing. Next time you won't beat me, Deku. Katsuki proclaimed. I expect the challenge, Guela. Izuku replied as Katsuki grumbled at the nickname and returned to the locker rooms. Izuku and Kyoka went to follow him until they were stopped by someone. Hold it, you two. Ashido called. You have been rather close all of the exam and have been calling each other by your first names. Are you two dating? The pink-skinned girl excitedly asked. Both teens blushed at the question, with Izuku recovering fast and deciding to have some fun, answered the girl. And what if we are? Are you jealous? Of her? Or of me? He sported a toothy grin as he looked at her. Ashido, not one to back down from a teasing battle, although she did have a tint of purple blush on her face from his response, retorted back, So are you saying you are dating? I'm not saying anything, he said, walking away casually with his hands in his pockets as Kyoka followed him, her blush something fierce. Damn it. You win this time, Midoriya, but I'll get you one of these days. Ashido shouted frustratingly. Izuku only responded with a two-finger wave as he continued to walk away. Izuku and Kyoka, after changing, grabbed their required papers and walked off down the halls of UA. Izuku went to speak until Kyoka punched his arm. Ow, what was that for? Izuku complained, rubbing his arm. For that stunt you pulled back there? And stop whining, I didn't hit you that hard, she said. That hard? Kyoka, you smashed my bones with that punch, he replied, shaking his arm to show how busted it was, much to Kyoka's slight disgust before the arm magically healed itself. Sorry, I still forget that I'm a lot stronger now. She apologized, and they continued walking for a bit. So think anyone here could be a sin? Kyoka asked. If they are, then they probably would have recognized our abilities and confronted us by now, so I don't think so. They could also not be awakened yet. However, that would be hard to tell if they were. We know that the reincarnation doesn't entirely match the person to a T, only that the person resonates with the specific sin. Me being greed for wanting to still live and save everyone, and you for envy, which I still don't know why. Although Mineta may be small and perverted like the captain only acted like that around Elizabeth, and even then I don't remember Elizabeth minding, so I don't think he's the captain. He does fit lust, but once again it doesn't match with Gowther's lust. For now we just have to wait until another one shows up. Let's just hope they aren't out of the country or something. Hey Ban, do you know if all the sins will be in Japan or not? Izuku mumbled on before asking Ban the question as Kyoka stood there amused at Izuku. His mumbling is kinda cute, Kyoka admitted to herself. See, Diane said to Kyoka. Not now, Diane. Don't know, kid. I stopped paying attention to Merlin's explanation after the basics, Ban said to both of them. Yeah, I kind of forgot what she told us, Diane said, scratching her head while giving an apologetic smile. The two young sins stopped walking, processing what the two just said with dumbfounded faces. Well, I guess we'll just have to hope for the best then, Izuku sighed. I guess. Hey, by the way, what was up with those nicknames between you and that blonde kid? Deku? Guela? Did she somehow come back as well? Kyoka questioned. Oh, you mean Kakin? He's my childhood bully turned rival. He used to call me Deku cause I was quirkless, and it's one way you can read my name. After we worked through our issues, he became my rival, and I decided to nickname him Guela due to his quirk explosion. Izuku explained. I see, makes sense. Kyoka replied. He completely brushed over the bullying part like it was nothing. She thought worriedly. Where are we going anyway? She suddenly asked, realizing they had been walking for a good bit. All Might said we should talk to Principal Nizu. Said that he would be really useful in helping us. Plus, Nizu also knows about One for All, so he can be trusted. And it looks like we are here, he said, knocking on the large door in front of him. Come in. A faint voice could be heard from the other side of the door as the two opened it and walked in. I was wondering when you two would show up. Why don't you take a seat so we can get down to business, Ban and Diane. The bear mouse chimera known as Nizu spoke with his fingers intertwined and an almost sadistic-looking grin on his face. The two teens shot each other a look of confusion and slight worry. Welp, here we go again. Okay, so first off, Izuku started, looking towards the principal. How do you know who we are? He finished with Kyoka nodding in agreement. Of course, but first would you like some tea? Nizu said, pouring 3 cups and handing 2 to the students who accepted the tea and tasted it. Izuku looked intrigued before speaking again. Golden Tips Imperial? He said, surprising the chimera. Yes, it's one of my favorites, and I figured I'd bring it out for such a discussion. I'm quite surprised that you know of it, Mr. Midoriya. Nizu replied, taking a sip from his tea. Ban was an amazing cook in his life, and since the merge, I've been also getting into cooking. I love tea, so I've been trying different kinds. Izuku explained. Ah, so Ban has merged with you, giving you his memories and abilities. Nizu summarized to himself, causing Izuku and Kyoka to look at him in confusion. You mean you don't know? But I thought you knew who we were. Kyoka questioned, setting her cup down. Let me explain. I've dedicated myself to learning all I can about humanity and its history. Obviously, the story of the 7 deadly sins is a well-known, albeit niche legend. So I found myself surprised when 2 of my students happened to showcase the exact same abilities as 2 of the sins. So I put the dots together and made a guess, and it looks like I was right. Nizu explained. What if it was just a coincidence? We could have just had similar quirks. Izuku said. He knew it really didn't matter, but the boy was curious. Oh please, Mr. Midoriya, I know you are smart. Surely you know that no 2 quirks are the same. Even those passed down from parent to child are different for the child in some way. But you two, on the other hand, show the exact same abilities as people of the past despite the fact that quirks never even existed then. But truly what gave it away was the fact that you are semi-immortal. No quirk is powerful enough on its own to close 3 large puncture wounds on the chest in an instant, as well as remove all blood without any repercussions. Nizu said, smirking. Izuku opened his mouth to respond, but Nizu stopped him. And before you say that it could have been a new quirk, having a semi-immortal quirk as well as the abilities of a hero from legend is far too great to be a mere coincidence. He's got you there, Kyoka pointed out, smirking slightly. Izuku sighed. All right, now I guess we should explain everything from our end. Yes, that would be nice, Nizu replied. Izuku and Kyoka took turns explaining everything that happened to them and had Ban and Diane take over to explain the threat of the Demon King returning. Nizu was surprised to see that the 2 students could switch out with their sins, but quickly left that thought aside. After they finished, Nizu took a long sip of his tea before folding his hands and letting out a long sigh. This news about the Demon King is troubling, especially since it seems only you 2 have awakened so far. I will look into this as much as I can to not only try and figure out where the Demon King is, but also to try and find the other sins once they have awakened. Now, if there is nothing else that you wish to discuss, then you are free to go. Izuku stood up and bowed, Kyoka following his lead. Thank you, and it was good meeting you, sir. The pleasure is all mine. Nizu smiled as the 2 students walked out of his office. Once they were gone, he turned to look out the window in his office. Things just got very interesting. His thoughts then turned to the Demon King, and his face turned into a scowl. I really hope it's not him. Izuku and Kyoka were walking out of the building and heading towards the train station, but were stopped by a couple of voices. Hey, wait up. The duo turned to see Mina, Kirishima, Hagakure, Uraraka, and Ida coming towards them. Izuku smiled as they caught up. Hey guys, what are you doing here still? We wanted to wait for you two cause you were so awesome during the tests. Kirishima exclaimed. Plus you two seem cool, and I don't care what Mr. Aizawa says. I want to make friends in this class. Mina said. Yeah. Hagakure and Uraraka chimed in before everyone fully introduced themselves. I certainly wasn't expecting UA to operate like this with our teacher threatening expulsion. Though I do suppose UA is known for its unique approach to education. Once again, I must praise you, Midoriya, for deducing the true nature of what our instructor intended. I must devote myself to becoming better so that I may catch up to your level, Ida said while rapidly chopping his arm. I already said, Ida, you don't need to praise me or anything. I just have a lot of experience and use that to my advantage, Izuku said, grimacing slightly at the boy's formality. Yeah, dude, lighten up. There's no need to be so stiff, Mina said. That does make me wonder, Uraraka said, catching the group's attention. Ida, right. You've been talking so formally. Are you a rich boy? The girl exclaimed, much to the surprise on Ida's face. The boy looked down and sighed. I was hoping to not have my status revealed so soon. But yes, my family has been heroes for generations, and I hope that I can continue that legacy, especially that of my brother, he said, chopping his arm again. Izuku decided to stop his chopping. Calm down there, karate master. Your brother? Izuku put a hand on his chin, thinking for a second before his eyes widened. Is your brother Ingenium? You mean the hero that has a dozen sidekicks? Hagakure asked. Yes, my older brother Tensei is my role model. I strive to be like him in my hero career, Ida replied. That's a great goal, Ida, although you should still be your own hero, and I'm sure your brother will agree, Izuku said, putting his hand on Ida's shoulder. The speedster smiled at the boy. I thank you, Midoriya. Izuku. Huh. Call me Izuku, Ida. I'm not one for formalities. The boy smiled brightly, which caused some of the girls, especially Kyoka, to blush at how bright it was. You can all call me Izuku as well. I want to get to know all of you, and I hope to enjoy these next few years with you, especially since I didn't have many friends growing up. That caused the group to look at him in confusion and sadness. What do you mean? Mina asked. Asterisk, oh, my quirk didn't awaken until about a year ago, so everyone thought I was quirkless and I was bullied for it. They would call me names and beat me up, so I never had any real friends, Izuku said casually while not dropping his smile. That's horrible. I'm sorry that happened, Izuku. Bullies are the worst, Mina said. Izuku shrugged. It's fine. I'm past it. I knew he was quirkless, but I never thought his life would have been that bad. Something tells me Bakugo might have been one of the bullies. I really don't like how he brushed off his trauma again. That can't be a good thing. Kyoka frowned in thought. Maybe you could talk to him sometime about it. It would be a good opportunity to really get to know him and try and help him. Diane spoke in Kyoka's head. Well, those people were wrong. You're really awesome, Izubro, Kirishima exclaimed. Izubro? Izuku questioned. Yeah, we're all your friends now, so we'll make up for lost time by showing you what it's like having friends. So I hope you are ready, Midori, Mina exclaimed with Hagakure cheering with her. Midori? Kyoka smirked, seeing this as an opportunity to get back at Izuku for his teasing. Well, would you look at that? Minus Kirishima and Ida, you already seem to be amassing yourself a harem, Big Green, she said, causing the girls to look at her blushing slightly. Big Green, Izuku exclaimed, looking incredulously at Kyoka, but upon seeing the smirk on her face, he realized her game and grinned, deciding to play along. Well, I certainly don't mind. As long as you are okay with sharing, he said with a smug look on his face. Uh-huh. I knew it. You two are dating, Mina yelled as she pointed a finger at the two. Kyoka, deciding not to back down, continued. PFT, as if I would date this idiot. Definitely not my type, she said with a light-hearted and joking tone. You sure about that? 'Cause I've seen you stare at my abs, Izuku said. It's hard not to with how much your shirt is off. I mean, seriously, I think I've seen you shirtless more times than your mother has at this point, Kyoka countered, causing the girls to blush at the thought. And yet you still look. Are you sure you won't be envious of others who might get close to me? Izuku shot back, wearing a shy-teating grin. Are you sure you won't be greedy and try to steal them? Kyoka said, matching him. You never know. Foxes can be very cunning. You gotta be careful around serpents, though. They can pack quite the bite, Kyoka replied, punching his arm and breaking it unbeknownst to the others. How that hurt Kyoka, Izuku complained as he felt his bones magically repair themselves. Well, then it looks like you need more training, Izuku, she said playfully. Well, I'm going to get going. See you guys tomorrow. She called to the group before walking off, deciding to sway her hips a little to tease Izuku some more. Izuku watched as she walked away and stared for a second mesmerized before shaking his head out of his stupor and bid goodbye to his new friends before following after Kyoka. As the two sins left, the new friend group just stood there in confusion and awe at the back and forth between the two teens. What just happened? Kirishima said. So are they dating or not? Uraraka asked. I really don't know, Hagakure said. Ugh, damn those two. I swear I will get to the bottom of this. Mina shouted in frustration. Ashido, it is wrong to try and pry into the lives of our fellow students. It is our duty as friends and classmates to respect their privacy. Ito exclaimed, rapidly chopping his hand again. You really are too stiff, bro, Kirishima said, while the rest of the group laughed. Izuku and Kyoka both sat on the train to Takoba in awkward silence thinking about what just happened. Oh my god, did I really just do that? How did I do that? I don't know what came over me. Kyoka freaked out in her mind. That was amazing, Kyoka. You were able to match him at every corner. And at the end where you swayed your hips? You definitely won that game. Diane said. I didn't even know there was a game to be played. I just thought I could get back at him for all the teasing he does. And you most certainly did. I knew you had it in you. That was the real you on display there. The real me? What do you mean? I've only been with you for 6 months, but I can tell the type of person you are, Kyoka. And today only proved me right. Ugh. Kyoka sighed internally, unable to come up with a retort. Thanks, Diane. No problem, Kyoka. So how'd you come up with the idea to sway your hips like that? Diane teased. Don't know. I just kinda did it. I guess maybe I wanted to get a reaction out of him and thought I'd try what I'd seen other girls do. Oh, and react he did. He couldn't keep his eyes off you for a second, Diane said as Kyoka blushed and glanced over at the boy who also appeared lost in thought. I wonder what he's thinking about. What just happened? Izuku yelled in his mind. Ah, she really got you good, kid. Bet you weren't expecting her to match your snarkiness like that. Ban laughed. I wasn't, but I can't say that I hated it. I don't know why, but it felt exhilarating to be able to talk with her like that. Well, you did say that you wanted to get to know her better, and you got to see a new side to her today. I guess you're right. Izuku sighed. Look, kid, I'm not the guy to go to for advice. All I can say is if you want something, go get it. Izuku thought about Ban's life and understood what the man said. Thanks, Ban. Quit thanking me, will ya? Ban groaned. Izuku chuckled at his reaction before looking to Kyoka. So what did you think of the first day? Very hectic. The tests weren't that difficult, but the threat of expulsion did worry me, she said, letting out an exhausted sigh. Yeah, I get what you mean. I did as best as I could without causing too much damage to myself and others. I was worried that Mr. Aizawa would expel me for holding back despite the fact that I had to. Izuku said. Yeah, if I went all out, I could have really hurt someone. Also, there was something that was strange to me, Kyoka said, drawing Izuku's attention. When you went up to do the ball throw, Mr. Aizawa's eyes glowed red and his hair started floating, but he looked shocked when you did your throw. Oh, he was probably trying to use his quirk on me, but it didn't work because Snatch isn't a quirk. This might cause some issues. Oh right, you called him Eraserhead earlier. Who is he and what's his quirk? Eraserhead is an underground hero. His quirk Eraser allows him to erase the quirks of anyone he looks at, but he needs to keep his eyes open and it doesn't work on mutant types. Well, why is it an issue then? Couldn't you say that you are a mutant type? I could have, but unfortunately didn't. I put Snatch down as an emitter/transformation type because it fit the easiest. So Mr. Aizawa is probably wondering why his quirk didn't work on me. Izuku sighed. Oof, yeah, I can see why that could be an issue. I guess we'll just have to wait and deal with it when it comes up. Hopefully, Nizu will help or take care of it for us. Kyoka said. Yeah, wait, did you just say oof? Izuku smirked at her. Yeah, you got a problem with it. Kyoka said, blushing lightly in embarrassment. Izuku chuckled. Not at all. I just never expected you to be one with memes. Objection. I know plenty of memes, she exclaimed, pointing dramatically at Izuku. The two teens looked at each other before laughing, causing the other passengers to look at the two strangely. The two remained in silence the rest of the ride until they arrived and stepped off the train and headed toward Takoba. Once they reached the beach, Izuku looked out over the now pristine area thinking about how different it used to be. Man, I can't get over this view. Hard to believe it used to be a dump, he said. Well, it's thanks to you that we can enjoy this view now, Kyoka responded. Yeah, you know we always train here, but we should actually come and use the beach sometime. We could invite our class here as well. Izuku smiled. I think that'd be fun. Kyoka smiled back. Welp, enough delay. Time for training, Izuku said as he set his bag down and went to change in one of the new changing areas that was recently put up, with Kyoka doing the same. Once they were done, they stood across from each other on the sand. Let's get started, Izuku said, taking off his shirt and getting into a stance. Kyoka blushed at seeing him shirtless again, which Izuku noticed and smirked. Getting all flustered now, are we? What happened to all that bravado from earlier? Kyoka's face turned to a scowl. Oh, I'll show you bravado, she yelled as she rushed at him. Izuku kept his smirk as he held his stance and met the girl Hiden. The two continued to train for a few hours until the sun appeared orange on the horizon. They stood across from each other in their stances, breathing heavily as sweat covered their bodies. All right, I think that's good for today, Izuku said while Kyoka nodded. The two walked up the steps and rested against the railing, looking out towards the ocean. Water? Izuku asked. Yeah. Izuku used Snatch to grab their bags and pulled Kyoka's water bottle out of her bag and tossed it to her while he grabbed his own and started to drink. His eyes found their way to her and watched as the sun reflected off the sweat on her skin, giving her a stunning glow. She eventually looked over and saw him staring at her. What? She asked. That broke him out of his stupor as he quickly looked away. Sorry too, just thought that the sun reflecting off you made you look glowy, and I thought you looked nice like that, he said with a blush. Kyoka felt the heat reach her cheeks as she blushed. I diet, but thanks. Izuku continued to look out at the ocean. This time it was Kyoka's turn to stare as she watched the beads of sweat glisten and roll down his chest. Her face grew redder as she quickly turned away. Now's your chance, Kyo, Diane said in her mind. The two stood awkwardly for a bit before Kyoka broke the silence. She let out a deep breath. You shouldn't brush it off like that. Izuku turned to her. What? Kyoka kept her head facing towards the sea. You shouldn't brush off your past and trauma like that. Izuku looked confused. What do you mean, Kyoka? I said I'm past all that. It's fine, really. She turned to him with a frown. No, it's not, Izuku. She raised her voice. You were severely bullied and neglected, and you're telling me that it's all fine and dandy? That it doesn't matter? Well, I call bullshit. You don't just walk away unaffected from things like that. Especially since it only stopped a year ago. What about Bakugo, huh? You just brushed over the fact that he was your main bully for years. People don't just move on like that. She yelled at him. Izuku stared at her, surprised at the outburst, before sighing and resting his hands on the railing and looking out towards the sea again. You're right. I'm not past it. Like you said, people don't just move on like that. Bakugo aside, I still think about the things everyone said to me. The things they did just because I was born quirkless, but after meeting Ban, I just kinda pushed it all aside. My priority now is following my dream and making sure I am prepared for when the Demon King shows up. I don't have time to dwell on my past and the things that happened to me. That's not true. Yes, the threat of the Demon King is very real and the path to be a hero is difficult, but that doesn't mean you can ignore yourself and your problems. You need to take care of yourself as well. If you keep pushing away your problems, eventually they're going to catch up to you, and you might not be able to handle it when they do. We are still young and in our first year. For all we know, the Demon King won't show up until after we already graduated, so we can't dwell on it. You don't have to shoulder all this responsibility by yourself. She put her hand on his shoulder. You have people now that care about you. You have Ban and Diane, All Might, the friends we made today. Her voice dropped low, almost to a whisper. You have me. She used her jack to turn his head, so he was looking at her. You can talk to me whenever you need. I'm here for you, and I'm sure our new friends would say the same despite the fact that we just met. So please don't bottle everything up. She pleaded, looking into his eyes. Izuku looked back into her eyes. I'm so stupid. Things aren't going to be the same as they used to be. She's right. I have people that care about me now, he thought. He smiled contently as he turned the rest of his body towards her. Thanks, Kyoka. You're right. I'll tell you everything. She removed her hand from his shoulder and quickly waved her hands back and forth. "To didn't necessarily mean right now. You don't have to tell me everything. I want to. You're my best friend and fellow Sin. You deserve to know." He turned back towards the sea. "I ever tell you why I wanted to be a hero?" Kyoka shook her head. "Well, when I was little, my favorite video was All Might's debut. He saved so many people from a disaster with a smile on his face, all while saying, 'I am here.' Those words and his smile made people feel safe. I wanted to be just like him. Someone who protects people and makes them feel safe. I hoped that I would get a good quirk to let me do that. Unfortunately, as you know, I was diagnosed as quirkless when I was 4. My dream was crushed. That night, I sat watching the All Might video again and again with tears in my eyes. I asked my mom if she thought I could be a hero like him, but all she said was, 'I'm sorry, Izuku.' I won't lie. That hurt, knowing that my mom didn't believe in me, but I still carried on with my dream. Bakugo was my friend, but after his quirk came in, everyone started praising him and saying that he was destined to be a great hero with a quirk like his. This continued throughout the years. I tried to continue being friends with him, but the ego, all the praise and attention gave him, caused him to be more mean and think down on others. A lot of times he would hurt other kids for seemingly thinking they were better than him, and every time I jumped in to try to stop them, and of course got beaten for it. Didn't the teachers try to stop any of it? Kyoka asked, getting angrier listening to his story. Nope. Bakugo was the star student. Amazing quirk, and he did well in classes. They only cared about the attention they would get from him becoming a top hero and coming from the school. They didn't care about some quirkless kid. Actually, I would be the one to get in trouble despite the fact that Bakugo and all the other kids were the ones that started it. Those quirkist bastards. Kyoka grunted, gripping the railing tightly. Anyway, this continued for years. My mom never knew about it, as I always hid it from her. I didn't want her to worry any more than she already did. Despite everything, I still never gave up on my dream. I analyzed every hero and quirk I saw, hoping that by doing so I could apply it to hero work. Although I should have probably actually done some training. Izuku chuckled slightly at his stupidity. Eventually we got to middle school, and in our final year. He let out a sigh. I almost gave up. Kyoka looked slightly shocked at this. You're probably thinking what made me almost give up after going through so much. Well, he stopped and looked at her. I don't condone Bakugo's actions, but it's not entirely his fault. He was conditioned to think the way he does and was never taught otherwise. So please, after I tell you this, promise me that you won't skewer him? Izuku said in a light-hearted tone, but with a hint of seriousness. Kyoka sighed. I promise. One day our teacher was talking about our career forms, and obviously Bakugo was bragging about going to UA and being the best. The teacher, however, also revealed how I still planned to go to UA. Bakugo was pissed at this and confronted me after class. He took my recent hero analysis journal and blew it up before throwing it out the window. As he left, he said, "If you want to be a hero so bad, take a swan dive off the roof and hope for a quirk in your next life." Izuku said with a hefty sigh. Kyoka's blood was boiling at that point. She wanted to send Bakugo to Kingdom Come, but she promised Izuku. Instead, she continued to listen as her blood continued to boil, gripping the railing so tight she was making dents in it. I found my journal and was walking home after that when the sludge villain appeared and almost killed me. I was lucky enough that All Might was there to save me. After making sure I was okay, he went to leave, but I still had a question to ask him, so I grabbed onto his leg as he jumped in the air. In hindsight, not my best idea. He chuckled, with Kyoka chuckling slightly as well, imagining it. We landed on a rooftop, and that's where I found out about All Might's secret. I then asked him if I could be a hero without a quirk, but he told me no and to dream realistically. Kyoka's blood began boiling again. After hearing that, I was about to give up. I mean, if the #1 hero thought I couldn't do it, then why should I continue to try? As I was walking down the street thinking about everything, I came across the sludge villain holding Bakugo hostage, and well, you know the rest. Ban was actually the first person who told me I could be a hero. It's cause of him that I didn't give up. As for Bakugo, well, after the incident, I went home and he was there with his mother, who made him thank me for saving him. That's where I told them and my mom everything, and after having a serious heart-to-heart conversation with Bakugo, we were able to somewhat mend our relationship, and now we are rivals. Izuku let out a sigh as he finished recounting everything from his life. There you go. That's my whole life summed up. Dude, you really had an awful life. Kyoka said, blood still boiling. I honestly don't know how you were able to put up with it for so long. Izuku chuckled. I don't know either. Well, I'm glad you did. Just from hearing that story, you're a great person, Izuku. The world deserves a great hero like you. Kyoka praised. Thanks, Kyoka. Anytime. I'm glad you told me. I'm sure it feels better getting all that off your chest. Izuku smiled. Yeah, it does. You're a good listener. Kyoka smiled back. Well, I do have great hearing, she said, twirling her with her finger, causing the two to laugh. I'm always here to listen if you need it. I know. I'm also here to listen if you need it. This friendship isn't a one-way street, you know. Izuku joked. Right, I will. Kyoka laughed, ignoring Diane's protests in her head. Well, it's getting late. We should probably get home. Yeah. If I don't get back soon, I'm sure my parents will start to worry. I'll walk you home. You don't need to do that. I want to. It's nice out, and I could go for a good stroll. All right. Kyoka grabbed her bag and started walking towards her house, with Izuku following. Neither said a word to the other, but were enjoying each other's company. You should really practice what you preach, Kyoka, Diane said. I don't know what you were talking about. Kyoka replied. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You told him to go to you if he ever needed to talk to someone. But despite him saying the same, you still keep your problems bottled up. I'm not bottling them up. He just dumped all of his trauma and issues on me. It wouldn't be right to immediately bother him with my issues. Plus, being emotionally and physically abused is completely different than thinking you aren't pretty. That's not fair to him. You wanted him to be transparent to you, but you aren't allowed to be transparent to him? It doesn't make sense. Diane complained. I will in time, okay? Just now is not the right time. When will be the right time? I don't know. You can't hide forever. Just like you told him, it'll eventually catch up with you, Diane said, leaving Kyoka to her thoughts. Kyoka continued to walk, mulling over what Diane said. So I've been thinking, Izuku said, breaking Kyoka from her thoughts. Now that we are in UA, we can probably dial back on our training. I'm not saying that we should slack off, but with the training we are going to get in our hero classes, we don't need to train every single day. I was thinking we should limit our training to the weekends. If we decide we need more, we can always add more days. That makes sense. I don't know what our hero classes will be like, but I imagine they will be pretty rigorous. Cool. Plus, I figured that with the extra free time, we could hang out more. Kyoka smirked. Well, like a date. Izuku blushed slightly, but continued to smile. Not necessarily. Unless you wanted to make it a date, he said, smirking. It was Kyoka's turn to blush before she playfully hit his arm, making sure to hold back her strength. Like you would even know what a date is like. Well, do you know what a date is like? I know more than you. Izuku raised an eyebrow but kept his smirk. Oh, is that a challenge? You tell me. Well, how about this? This weekend we go on a date. A friendly date, of course. Izuku clarified. I'll plan it out, and then we'll see if I know what a date is like. You're on. Although you're paying Big Green. Sure thing, little perp. Little perp? Kyoka laughed. I'm really bad at nicknames, Izuku said, rubbing the back of his head. Both teens laughed before realizing what they just said to each other and looked away with blushes on their faces. They continued to walk a little more before reaching Kyoka's house. Right as they got to the door, it opened to reveal Mikajiro standing in the doorway. Ah, Kyoka, there you are. I was wondering when you would be home, she said with a smile, although Kyoka knew that she had heard them coming. So are you going to introduce me to your friend here? She gave a sly smirk. Oh, I'm Izuku Midoriya. It's nice to meet you, Izuku said, bowing. What a polite young man. It's nice to meet you. I'm Mikajiro, Kyoka's mom, Mika said with a smile. Well, thanks for walking me home, Izuku. I'll see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Kyoka, Izuku said as he watched Kyoka walk past her mom into the house. He looked at Mika. Good night, Mrs. Jiro. Good night, Midoriya. I know she can handle herself, but I appreciate you walking her home. Of course. Izuku smiled and then began to walk away. Oh, and Midoriya, the woman called out, stopping the boy who turned around to her. Kyoka loves sushi, she said with a smile before closing the door. Izuku stood there confused for a moment before continuing to walk his way home. What did she mean by that? He thought. Now that I think about it, it was strange that she opened the door like she was expecting us. Was she just waiting at the door? Maybe she heard us laughing? Wait, He thought back to the woman and how she had a similar set of jacks coming from her ears, just like Kyoka. His eyes widened. Heard. She heard us coming with her jacks. Wait, she said Kyoka loves sushi. Did she hear our conversation about the date? The boy blushed thinking about how she must have heard him flirting with her daughter. He continued to think about everything that happened as he unconsciously sped up his walk home, appearing as a blur to those he passed. Izuku was waiting at the gates of UA the next morning thinking about the previous night. He was so lost in thought trying to plan for his date that he didn't notice the purple-haired rocker walk up to him. Kyoka rolled her eyes at the boy's muttering and smiled as she shocked him with her jack. You'll be late to class if you keep muttering like that, Green. The shock jolted Izuku out of his thoughts as he turned to see Kyoka and smiled. Oh hey Kyoka. Sorry, I was lost in my head again, he said, rubbing the back of his head in embarrassment. The two continued to talk as they walked to class. No worries, dude, Kyoka said. Why do I find his muttering cute? She thought. What was it this time? A new hero? No, actually, it was about last night, Izuku admitted. Ooh, sorry about my mom. I should have realized she would have been waiting at the door listening for me. She apologized with a small blush on her face. You don't need to apologize. It didn't bother me, Izuku replied, blushing slightly as he thought about the tip her mom gave him the previous night. So what do you think classes are going to be like? Kyoka asked. The two reached the door of the classroom and opened it to head in. They're taught by pros, so it'll probably be exciting. Which of these sentences is wrong? Present Mike pointed to 4 English sentences on the board. Izuku looked on with a face of disbelief. Never mind. These are boring as hell. At least the teachers are actually teaching, unlike those idiots at Aldera. Izuku thought in his mind as he put his head on his hand. Yaoyorozu. Mike called the girl who raised her hand. Number 4 is wrong, sir, she called out. Ooh, sorry, little listener. Incorrect. Izuku raised his hand. Midoriya. Number 3. Correct. Izuku let out a yawn in response. Kyoka chuckled slightly at the boy's demeanor, which didn't go unnoticed by the pink-skinned girl sitting in the same row. Izuku set his tray down at an empty table in the lunchroom. He sat down with his mouth salivating over the katsudon in front of him. Who would have thought that UA had the cook hero, Lunch Rush, working in the cafeteria? He'll make anything the students want. Even katsudon, he thought. Please don't only eat katsudon now, Ban complained. Hey, katsudon is a perfectly acceptable meal, Izuku shot back out loud. You might want to keep it down unless you want to be known as the crazy guy arguing with himself, Kyoka said, setting down her tray and sitting down next to him. Let me guess, Ban is begging you to not only eat katsudon? Izuku sighed. Got it in one. Can't say I blame him, Kyoka said, causing Izuku to look at her incredulously. I don't understand your obsession with it, or how you can eat it constantly, she explained, starting to eat her food. Izuku looked at her tray and smirked. Big talk coming from someone eating katsudon right now. Kyoka's eyes shot open, and she quickly swallowed before turning away with a blush. Shut up. It's Diane's fault for liking pork so much. The girl pouted. Hey, pork is amazing, Diane shot back. Izuku laughed and went back to enjoy his food. Looks like the lovebirds are at it again, Mina said, sitting down in front of the two. Lovebirds? Izuku and Kyoka spoke together. What's the matter? Scared that I unraveled the mystery of your relationship? Mina teased. Izuku and Kyoka looked at each other before turning to Mina as Izuku spoke. No, we're just confused as to why you said lovebirds. What? Well, you called us lovebirds. That doesn't really make much sense. Neither of us are like birds at all. If anything, I'd be a fox and Kyoka would be a serpent, but what would you call us then? Love foxents? I think it would be more loveserpox. Or maybe loveserpentox, Kyoka suggested. That's too long though. Plus it just uses all the letters in serpent, Izuku countered. Well, it's not my fault that fox is only 3 letters. Any combination already uses more than half of the word. Why not something small and simple, like socks? Izuku beamed. I am not going to be called socks, Kyoka deadpanned. Mina sat listening to the two banter with her eye twitching before she grabbed her head in frustration, unaware of the silent conversation they had within their minds. Ugh, why is nothing ever simple with you two? Give it a rest, Mina. It's only been 2 days, and we all know you're never going to get a straight answer out of those two unless they want you to," Hagakure said, taking the seat next to her. Mina sighed as the rest of their friends joined them at the table. "I must say that UA has exceeded my expectations on a scholarly level. It is very wondrous that we are able to receive such quality education on our journey to become heroes. Wouldn't you all agree?" Ida exclaimed while chopping his arm. His words were only met with sour faces around the table. "I wouldn't really put it like that, Ida," Izuku said, causing the blue-haired boy to become confused. "Hey, where's Kirishima?" Izuku asked. "Oh, he went to go sit with Bakugo. I think I heard him say something about Bakugo being manly," Uraraka said. Izuku turned to look for him and saw that Kirishima indeed had sat with Katsuki at his table. He then smirked as he saw Katsuki yell something at the red-haired boy before going back to enjoy his katsudon and talking with his friends. After lunch, the class waited in anticipation for their first heroics class. "I am," a voice spoke, causing the students, minus Izuku and Kyoka, to get excited. Coming through the door like a normal person, All Might said, leaning into the room while holding onto the doorway. "That's normal," Ban spoke. "He looks so goofy." Diane laughed. "He looks so cool," Kaminari said. "Wow, he really is a teacher," Kirishima said. "That's his Silverage costume, right, Karo?" Ashby wondered. "Welcome to Basic Hero Training. Here is where we will teach you the fundamentals to be a hero. This will be the class you spend the most time in. Now let's get right into it. Today, we will be doing." All Might held out his hand that had a card in it that said Battle. Combat Training. Both Katsuki and Izuku perked up at hearing his words. Combat. Katsuki smirked. Training. Izuku matched his smirk. "And to do that, you'll need these." All Might turned to the wall and pressed a button on the remote in his hand. 20 cases popped out of the wall with numbers corresponding to the class's seating arrangement. Costumes made based on your quirks and designs that you sent in before school began. Once you have changed, meet me in ground beta. All Might stood in the middle of an urban training area as the students started to pull out with their outfits in tow. They say the clothes make the person. From now on, remember, you are heroes. I must admit you all look cool. Now shall we begin, Zygotes? As All Might finished, the final student stepped out of the tunnel. Izuku strolled out wearing a pair of green heavy pants that led down into a pair of dark green combat boots. Draped over his body was a large dark green cloak with a long collar that went down to his ankles. Under the cloak, he wore a deep green undershirt with reinforced padding to help protect his body. Around his waist, he had a black belt with pouches that held an assortment of items, completing the outfit. Izuku continued his stroll, hands in his pockets, as a majority of the class commented on his costume. "He kinda looks badass, don't you think?" Siro said. "So manly," Kirishima cried. Some of the girls, Kyoka included, blushed as they looked at him in his outfit. "Wow, he looks hot." Diane. "What? I'm only finishing your thought for you," Diane teased. "I wasn't thinking that. You say that like I can't see what's going on in here." Kyoka's blush increased as she wished she could zap Diane with her jacks. Diane laughed. "Damn, Deku, trying to show me up, huh?" Katsuki shouted. Izuku smirked. "Well, it's not my fault people like my costume more than yours." Izuku then noticed the large gauntlets on Katsuki's forearms. "I see you went with my suggestion for the stored sweat." "I would have thought of it without your input anyway, nerd," Katsuki shouted back. Izuku laughed as he heard a voice from behind him. "Does he really have to be so loud? He's lucky that I can control the hearing of my jacks." Kyoka groaned. Izuku turned around, and his breath was caught in his throat. Kyoka was wearing a salmon-colored shirt that was slightly ripped at the bottom, and a pair of slightly baggy black pants that led down into large black boots with speakers on the front of them. Over her shirt, she wore a black leather jacket that went down to her midsection. She had a pair of light blue fingerless gloves that had metal studs on the knuckles. Attached to the gloves were a set of small white speakers. A blue pair of headphones sat on her head, and she had red markings in the form of little triangles under her eyes. Completing her look was a single black choker around her neck. Overall, Izuku thought she nailed the badass rocker girl look. A little too well in his opinion. "Good thing your pants aren't that tight." Ban laughed loudly. "Shut it." Izuku cried in his mind as he tried to calm himself. Kyoka felt herself squirm a little bit under the stare that Izuku had on her. Dude, you good?" Izuku blinked and quickly shook his head. "Yeah, I was just lost in thought again." He half-lied. "Well, you better get yourself together cause it looks like All Might is starting," Kyoka said as the class turned towards their teacher. Why was he staring at me like that? "Oh, come on, Kyoka. It should be obvious." He was stunned by how you look in your hero outfit. Diane said excitedly. "What? No way. He was probably overanalyzing the logistics of my gear." Kyoka tried to argue. "Wait a minute. Where did you learn those big words?" "I might have been listening into Izuku's muttering sprees from time to time," Kyoka admitted embarrassingly. "You know I've seen that look he gave you from King plenty of times, and I don't think your gear was what he was focused on." Diane teased and giggled. "Oh, All Might is speaking. That is totally more important than this conversation that never happened." Kyoka deflected away from the topic to focus on what All Might is saying as Diane sighed and decided to drop the subject for now. Most of the time, fighting villains takes place in the limelight, out in the public eye. However, the most dangerous and vile villains hide themselves in the shadows. Today, we will be conducting 2v2 indoor battles with one team being the heroes and the other taking on the role of villains. All Might spoke. "Without any basic training?" Azui asked. "One of the best ways to learn is through experience." "How will wins and losses be handled?" Yaoyorozu asked. "How badly can we hurt each other?" Katsuki asked. "Will we be threatened with expulsion?" Uraraka asked. "How will teams be decided?" Ida asked. "Let me explain, you zygotes." All Might yelled out. "The scenario is this. The villains have hidden a bomb within their hideout. The hero's job is to either catch the villains or secure the bomb before the time limit ends. The villains win if they can capture the heroes or defend the bomb until the time runs out. Teams and matches will be determined by drawing lots." He exclaimed. "Isn't that a haphazardly method?" Ida questioned, hand raised. "You're kidding me with the hand up, right?" Katsuki deadpanned. "Think about it, Ida. Pro heroes often have to make teams and work with any hero that is available at the time and place." Izuku explained. "Ah, I see. Excuse me." Ida said, doing a full 90-degree bow, which Izuku had no idea how he was able to do that in a full suit of armor. "Right, now let's begin." Kyoka looked at the letter G engraved on the ball in her hand and pouted slightly when she looked to her left and saw that Izuku's ball had the letter A on it. "Upset that you can't work with your crush?" Diane teased. "He's not my crush. I was just kinda hoping we would be together because we have been training together for a while now." Kyoka tried to explain. "If you say so. I guess we're a team, Izuku. Let's do our best," Uraraka exclaimed. Izuku smiled and nodded. "The first teams up will be these," All Might said as he pulled the letter D from the villain box and the letter A from the hero box. Izuku looked around and saw Katsuki grin at him while holding up his ball with the letter D on it. Izuku smirked back. "Heroes and villains take your places. Everyone else head to the control room." Katsuki and Ida had set the bomb up on the top floor of the building. "Stay here and guard the bomb, Four Eyes. I'm going after Deku." "Bakugo, wait. Are you sure it's wise to split up like this?" Ida exclaimed, grabbing Katsuki's shoulder. Katsuki shoved the arm off him and turned to the armor-suited boy. "Listen, Four Eyes. Deku's quirk lets him steal anything that he can see or perceive within his range. What do you think will happen if he comes here and sees the bomb?" he yelled. Ida's eyes widened with realization. "I'll fight Deku and keep him away from the bomb. You need to stay here and keep Round Cheeks from getting the bomb. Got it?" Katsuki yelled again. "Yes, of course. A brilliant strategy. Right, I will guard this bomb with my life." "Whatever, just don't let Round Cheeks touch the bomb. I refuse to lose to Deku," Katsuki said before heading into the depths of the building. In the control room, the class and All Might stood waiting for the match to begin as they conversed with one another. "So who do you think will win this?" Kaminari asked. It's hard to say since we haven't known each other long. But considering the versatility of Midoriya's quirk, I'm inclined to believe that the heroes will win this exercise," Yaoyorozu said. "It'll be close," Kyoka said, drawing the class's eyes to her. "It is true that Izuku has the advantage here. All he needs is to know exactly where the bomb is, and he can steal it. However, knowing the exact location is going to be difficult even with the communicators that they have. Bakugo will try and fight Izuku to keep him from the bomb while Ida defends. She explained. But couldn't Midoriya just steal Bakugo's strength and capture him easily, Karo? Azui asked. He could, but Bakugo and Izuku have known each other for years, and I guarantee Bakugo has trained to deal with Izuku's quirk. Kyoka explained. So you think Bakubro will win? Kirishima asked. Izuku will win, but it'll be closer than you think. Kyoka smirked and crossed her arms. So what's the plan, Izuku? Uraraka asked. Why are you asking me for a plan? Well, you seem to be pretty knowledgeable and you and Bakugo seem to know each other, so I assumed you would know what to expect. Uraraka beamed. Izuku smiled and nodded his head before his face morphed into a serious expression. All right, so my quirk only works on things I can see or perceive where they are. Since we don't know where the bomb is, I can't just steal it from the start. Even if we split up and you find the bomb, I still wouldn't be able to take it as I don't know the exact layout of the building. Katsuki is very familiar with my quirk, so my guess would be that he will come to distract me and keep me from finding where the bomb is. That would leave Ida to defend the bomb. Do you think you can handle him? Izuku asked. I'll do my best. I'll deal with Katsuki as fast as I can and then come to help you. Uraraka nodded. Now let's begin the exercise. Heroes, you may enter the building. All Might's voice boomed in the students' earpieces. Izuku and Uraraka entered the building and began to search the floors for the bomb. After scouring the first floor, they didn't find anything, so they went to head to the next floor until the smell of burnt sugar filled his nostrils. Go, Uraraka, Izuku firmly stated. What are you? DKU. Katsuki came rushing down the hallway using his explosions to propel himself toward Izuku with his arm raised. Izuku prepared himself to grab Katsuki's arm, expecting the boy to start with a right hook like he always did. However, Izuku was shocked when he saw the explosion user flip around and throw his leg out for a kick, making contact with Izuku's face as he was launched into the wall. Izuku, Uraraka called out. Don't worry, I'm fine. Go find the bomb. Right. Uraraka gave Izuku one last look before rushing off to the next floor to check for the bomb. Izuku wiped the blood from his mouth as he smirked at Katsuki. That's surprising. Normally you start off with a right hook. We sparred a lot, dumbass. I knew I'd have to switch things up for you, Deku. Katsuki said, grinning while making small pops with his hands. I see. It was smart of you to keep me from the bomb, Goela. Although you know I could just steal your strength and capture you. Izuku said as he went to lift his hands up, but before he could, an elbow hit his chest, knocking him back again. You can't steal from me if I'm too fast, Deku. Katsuki yelled as he blasted him to keep Izuku from getting up again. You may be fast, Izuku said as Katsuki was about to hit him with an explosion. But I'm faster. Izuku disappeared and reappeared behind Katsuki, kicking the explosive boy in the back, knocking him away. Izuku quickly moved in front of Katsuki and followed up with an uppercut, sending the boy flying back. Katsuki used his quirk to right himself and land on the ground, but felt his strength leave his body. He looked up and saw Izuku holding his hand out with a grin showing his sharp teeth. Uraraka hurried around the building, checking every floor for the bomb, eventually making her way to the top floor. She was about to start checking again, but then she heard a muffled voice. She followed the voice and slowly peeked her head inside the room and found Ida standing next to the bomb, boasting to himself. I am meant to play the villain in this exercise. That means I need to take on the role of a villain. The armored boy said before clearing his throat. Aha, the heroes will never find where we hid the bomb, aha, he exclaimed in a stereotypical villain voice. Uraraka tried to hold in her laughter, but Ida's villain persona was too funny and she let a chuckle slip. Ida quickly turned to the door. Who's there? Show yourself, hero. Well, I guess the cat's out of the bag now. She went into the room in a fighting stance. Uraraka, so you found our secret hideout. No matter, I took precautions for this. As you can see, I've removed all items and debris from this room. You are now powerless before me, aha. Uraraka held back another snicker before composing herself and running towards the bomb. It's no use. You'll never reach the bomb in time. Ida ran forward, blocking her path and keeping her away from the bomb no matter what she tried. Uraraka held up her hand to her earpiece. Izuku, I found the bomb on the top floor, but Ida is making it impossible to reach it. She radioed to her partner. Izuku grinned at the weakened Katsuki, who scowled back at him before he heard Uraraka call out to him over their communicators. The boy held his finger up to his ear. Got it. I'll try to finish things up with Katsuki and head your way. He then looked back at the explosive boy. This has been fun, Goela, but I need to finish this exercise. You think this is enough to beat me, Deku? I'm not losing to you, Katsuki shouted. Izuku's expression turned serious as he sped to attack Katsuki again. Katsuki narrowed his eyes and predicted where Izuku would try to attack. Right when Izuku went to attack, Katsuki brought his gauntlet up and pulled the pin on it, unleashing a larger explosion that knocked the semi-mortal back. You may have helped design these gauntlets that store my sweat, but what you didn't design were the separate chambers I put in them for different levels of power, the boy yelled. He then adjusted the knob on his gauntlets and quickly rushed Izuku, who was getting up. Now eat this full power explosion, you damn nerd. Young Bakugo don't. All Might called out over their communicators. He'll be fine. Now shut up and watch me win this, Katsuki said as he pulled the pin again. Izuku had no time to dodge, so he just put his hands up to block his face from the incoming attack. The massive explosion hit him dead on, destroying a portion of the building behind him and kicking up dust, obscuring Izuku from view. Back in the control room, the rest of the class watched as Izuku took the full force of Katsuki's attack with shocked and worried faces, but continued to watch as the dust settled, revealing Izuku standing there missing chunks of his body, as well as his right hand, and had blood all over him. Oh my god, Yaoyorozu said, holding a hand over mouth. This is crazy, Shiro yelled. I didn't sign up for this, Mineta exclaimed. Azui watched with a horrified expression, but noticed Kyoka had a neutral expression. Jiro, shouldn't you be more concerned for Midoriya right now, Karo? She said as the class turned to the rocker girl. Nah, he's fine. What do you mean he's fine? He is missing parts of his body and a freaking hand, Kaminari yelled. Just watch. There is more to Izuku's quirk than what he's shown, Kyoka said, smirking, making the class look at her like she was crazy. Wait, look, Mina called out. The class watched in shock once again as the holes in Izuku's body started to close up and his hand grew back as the blood on him turned into smoke. All Might stood stoically watching the match play out. Well, that stung, Izuku said as he lowered his arms. Gotta say those things are really powerful. I'd be screwed if it weren't for my regeneration. Young Bakugo, don't use that again. It is detrimental for both the heroes and villains to destroy the building in which you are holding out. If you use it again, I will stop this match and your team will lose, All Might told him. TCH fine. I don't need these to beat you, Deku, Katsuki yelled. I guess it's time I end this. Izuku sighed. The boy rushed forward in a burst of speed with his arm raised. Katsuki tried to react, but Izuku was too fast. Vanishing kill, Izuku called out as his attack hit Katsuki, making sure to hold back his strength to not actually kill the boy. Izuku stopped moving and turned around to look at Katsuki, who was injured and breathing heavily, but still standing. Heh, nice try, Deku, but you won't beat me. The boy huffed out before his eyes glazed over, and he fell down unconscious. Izuku calmly walked up to him and wrapped his capture tape around him. Young Bakugo has been captured, All Might called out. You know you probably could have ended that at the start, right? Ban said. I know. It just didn't seem right to win this instantaneously. Plus, I'd rather not reveal all of my abilities if I can help it, Izuku replied. Fair. Well, now that that's done, I should head to help Uraraka, he said to himself as he ran off towards the top floor. Uraraka kept trying to touch the bomb, using her quirk to float over to it, but every time she got close, Ito would use his quirk and move the bomb away. You'll never reach the bomb, heroes. It's only a matter of time before the clock runs out. Ahaha. Huffed. Uraraka tried not to laugh again. Ida makes it impossible to get the bomb. I guess I just need to wait for Izuku. I just hope he can make it here in time, she thought. Suddenly, the whole building shook. What is that? Ida said, breaking character for a moment. Uraraka saw that Ida was distracted and made a break for the bomb, but Ida recovered and moved the bomb away again. Dang it. Ahahaha, nice try, hero, but you won't get the best of me, With my partner distracting yours, we are sure to win. Young Bakugo has been captured. Ida stood there for a moment before recomposing himself. AHIC. No matter. Time is almost up. Your partner won't be able to find this room in time. Ha 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 ha. Ida, you might want to turn around. Uraraka said, smiling while scratching her head with her finger. I won't fall for your silly ruses, Hero. Hero team wins. All Might called. What? Ida turned around only to see that the bomb was gone. You know, Ida heard a voice behind him. If you wanted to keep the bomb hidden, maybe you shouldn't be boasting and laughing so loud. Ida turned to the voice and saw Izuku smirking near the entrance to the room with his hand on the bomb next to him. Both teams returned to the control room minus Katsuki, who was taken to Recovery Girl on a stretcher. That was such a manly showing, you guys. Kirishima called out. Yeah, you guys looked really cool out there, Hagakure said. But Midoriya, how did you heal those injuries? I mean, your freaking hand got blown off. Kaminari asked. Oh, you know, I was kinda hoping to keep that aspect of my quirk secret, but I guess that's out now cause of Guella. Izuku said sheepishly while rubbing the back of his head. A secondary aspect of my quirk is regeneration. Any injury I get I can heal back from. Wouldn't that make you immortal then, Karo? Azui asked with a finger on her chin. Almost, Izuku laughed. The only damage I can't heal is to my brain, so any injury there is permanent. Dude, that's overpowered, Shiro said. Izuku walked over to stand next to Kyoka. Nice job, Kyoka praised. Although you probably could have ended that fight a lot sooner, you know. Izuku drooped down. You know, I'm beginning to think that maybe you and Ban should have merged with how often you say the same things. We say the same things cause we're both right. Plus, I'm good. Besides, you don't want to have Diane in your head anyway. Hey, the giantess retorted in their minds as the two teens shared a laugh unbeknownst to the pink-skinned girl that was watching and heard their conversation. Who are Ban and Diane? All right, now young Midoriya is the MVP. Would anyone like to wager why? Yaoyorozu raised her hand. Midoriya predicted that Bakugo would come after him, so he wisely sent Uraraka to find the bomb. Bakugo was reckless with his gauntlets and underestimated Midoriya and lost because of it. Uraraka did well in finding the bomb. However, her laughter at Ida's eccentricities cost her the element of surprise, having to rely on Midoriya to secure the bomb. Ida gave away the position of the bomb to not only Uraraka, but Midoriya as well, costing his team the win. Midoriya took care of Bakugo with ease and was able to quickly find the bomb and secure it with his quirk. The prim and proper girl stated as the class stared at her. She said a lot more than I thought she would. All Might thought nervously before clearing his throat. Right you are. Well, why don't we start the next matches? Use this first round as a learning experience for your next matches. All Might continued. They went through a few matches before finally, it was Kyoka's turn. The girl turned to Izuku. Wish me luck. You don't need it. Izuku replied with a smile. Kyoka blushed, but nodded her head as she went to go plan with her partner. Oh, cheering on the one you love. So cute. Mina teased. No, it's not that, Izuku said, making Mina stare blankly at him. I know Kyoka's abilities, and I'm confident that she'll win this no problem. He finished, causing Mina to grumble. The class watched as the villain team consisting of Yaoyorozu and Mineta were fortifying the bomb room with metal plates made from Yaoyorozu's quirk. While she was fortifying, Mineta was busy leering at the girl. Izuku growled as he saw this. I warned that grape bastard. Kyoka stood waiting for the exercise to start, but her mind was occupied by Izuku's comment earlier. Does he really have that much confidence in me? Of course he does, Diane exclaimed. You two have been training together for months. He's seen what you can do, and he knows what you are capable of. Plus, he likes you. He does not like me. How many times have we been over this? Kyoka yelled. He called you beautiful, Diane pointed out. So, just because he called me beautiful doesn't mean he likes me, Kyoka argued. Diane sighed. Listen, Kyoka, ignoring whether or not he likes you, which he does. Kyoka growled. He trusts in you and your abilities, and you should too. He's your friend, your teammate. Trust in the trust he has for you. Diane spoke. Hey Jiro, Kaminari called out, breaking Kyoka out of her thoughts. Are you okay? I've been trying to get your attention, but you haven't been responding. Oh, Sorry, I guessed I spaced out. The girl apologized. It's cool. I was just thinking we should tell each other our quirks to help work together on this. The blonde-haired boy said. Oh yeah, sure. I can plug my jacks into anything and use them to hear up to a certain distance. I can also use the vibrations of my heart to do all sorts of things. Is that how you were controlling the ground during the quirk tests? The boy asked. Yeah, I can use my vibrations to manipulate the earth any way I want. I have no clue how that works, but hey, I never claimed to be a man of science despite my quirk being electricity. Anyway, like I said, my quirk lets me channel electricity through my body to shock anyone or anything, but I can't aim it. Kaminari explained. Heroes, you may now enter the building. All Might said. So you seem pretty confident that Jiro's going to win this izuku. Uraraka said next to him. Yeah, Hyoka's quirk is very versatile, and I can't imagine Mineta or Yaoyorozu to be able to counter it, although Yaoyorozu's quirk is also very versatile, and she seems intelligent, so maybe she can. But isn't her quirk just her ear jacks? Ojiro questioned. Nope, her ear jacks are just a mutation. She can use them to plug into any surface and hear within a certain range, but her real quirk is vibromanipulation. Vibromanipulation? Sato asked, confused. She can use the vibration of her heart to send attacks out or control the ground. Izuku explained using the cover story that the two came up with to explain Diane's power. Is that why she was able to move the ground around during Mr. Aizawa's tests, Karo? Azui asked. Yep, although she might be limited in a building since she won't have direct access to the ground. But you're still confident that she'll win? Hagakure asked. Uh-huh. Just watch and you'll see what I mean. Izuku said, smiling at the display. Hyoka and Kaminari entered the building and started making their way forward. Hold on, Hyoka said. She plugged her jack into the wall and listened in. She heard footsteps coming from a couple floors above them. They're a couple floors above. All right, let's go. The two made their way up to the floor Hyoka found. Once there, she used her jack again to find the room. Once she found it, she silently pointed to it. The two approached the door slowly, so as to not alert the villain team that they were there. Hyoka once again used her jack as well as her creation power to scope out the room. Okay, I'll rush in there and go to shock them both. Kaminari whispered as he began to run at the door. Hyoka's eyes widened as she yelled out to her teammate. Wait. Kaminari didn't hear her and ran straight into the door, bouncing off it with a metal clang and falling back, clutching his nose as the door remained still. You idiot. You should have waited for me to finish scouting the room first. Hyoka sighed. It looks like Yaoyorozu barricaded the door with some sort of metal. Are you okay? She looked at her teammate. Yeah. Oh man, that's definitely going to bruise. Kaminari complained. That's why we have recovery girl. Meanwhile, inside the room, the two hero students heard the clang of Kaminari hitting the door and prepared themselves. Yaoyorozu made a metal bow staff and got into a stance. Mineta nervously stood with some of his balls in his hands. Back outside the door, Hyoka hummed to herself. She reinforced the door with metal. Guess it's time to put metal against metal, she said, confusing Kaminari. Heavy metal, the girl called out as her body turned into a metallic color. What? You can do that? Is your body like metal or something? Kaminari exclaimed. Get ready, she told her teammate, who shook his head and nodded and prepared some electricity in his hand. Hyoka stood in front of the door, checking the layout of the room before cocking her arm back and punching the door, making sure to hold back her strength. The metal plates bent and shifted as the door was blown away. Mineta had the unfortunate luck of standing in the direct path of the door as the now flying object crashed into him, carrying him back and slamming him against the wall, knocking him out. Hyoka and Kaminari entered the room, the metal color leaving her body. You might as well give up now. It's 2-on-1. Kaminari said. He stepped forward, not noticing the thin tripwire in front of him as he tripped it, and a line of capture tape shot out at him, wrapping around his legs. Young Kaminari has been captured. Oh man, the boy exclaimed. Actually, I believe it is 1-on-1. Yaoyorozu said with a smile. I'll admit I did not expect you to be able to break through the reinforced door so easily. However, I made sure to plan for the worst. I should have expected that, honestly, considering your analysis for Izuku's match. Hyoka noted. But that's not going to stop me, she shouted as she stuck her jacks into her gloves and pointed them at Yaoyorozu. Heartbeat wave. She shot out a large blast of sound at the raven-haired girl. Yaoyorozu's eyes widened as she got hit by a blast at the speed of sound, knocking her back. Kyoka took this opportunity to run towards the bomb, but Yaoyorozu quickly recovered and stepped in front and swung her metal staff at the punk girl. Kyoka reacted by grabbing the staff with her hands, putting the two girls into a deadlock with each other. "I won't let you near the bomb," Yaoyorozu proclaimed. "I admire your determination," Kyoka grunted, "but sorry to say that I'm going to win this." The girl then used her strength to bend the metal staff. "What?" the raven-haired girl exclaimed in confusion before being kicked away by Kyoka, who ran forward and touched the bomb. "Hero team wins," All Might called out. Yaoyorozu sat up looking dejected at the ground. "I lost." Kyoka walked over to the girl and held a hand out to help her up. "Hey, don't beat yourself up over this. I'm not sure about our other classmates' quirks, but I think they'd have a hard time with that barrier you made. Not to mention you were able to capture my teammate, and you did it all by yourself. We're all here to learn and grow as heroes. So be proud of what you accomplished and improve for next time." Kyoka smiled. Yaoyorozu looked up and blushed at the praise the girl gave, but smiled and grabbed her hand. You're right. Thanks, Jiro. I'll make sure to improve myself to the fullest. Call me Kyoka. We're going to be in the same class for the next 3 years, so we might as well get acquainted with each other now," Kyoka said as she helped the ravenet up. Yaoyorozu's eyes lit up in a way that reminded Kyoka of a puppy. "Oh, okay. Well, you can call me Momo then. I'm glad you two are having your girly moment, but could one of you get me out of this?" Kaminari yelled, drawing the attention of the two girls to the boy who was struggling to get the capture tape off of himself. The three returned to the control room while medical bots carried the unconscious Mineta to Recovery Girl. A fantastic showing, students. Now, would anyone here like to wager who the MVP of this round is? All Might prodded the class. Izuku raised his hand. Yaoyorozu and Kyoka. Care to explain your reasoning, young Midoriya? Yeah, didn't Yaoyorozu lose? Hagakure asked, causing the girl in question to look away sadly while Kyoka leveled a slight glare at the invisible girl. She may have lost, but she did everything she could given her circumstances. Izuku explained. She had the right idea to barricade the entrance to the bomb room, and it would have worked more effectively had Kyoka not had both the ability to pinpoint the location of the bomb and break through the reinforced door. She even planned for someone getting through her barricade with the capture tape trap that caught Kaminari. Even after her preparations had been used, she still committed to protecting the bomb to the best of her ability. While her teammate was busy being a sleazeball, she took the exercise seriously and might have even won against different opponents. Momo blushed at Izuku's praise while Kyoka smirked. Kyoka also took the exercise more seriously than her partner. She was the one to identify where the bomb was located and showed an air of caution, which is smart in an unknown situation. Kaminari didn't, and not only ran face first into the reinforced door, hurting himself and alerting the enemy. Some of the class snickered, but he also charged blindly into the room and causing himself to get captured. Kyoka kept her guard up, even though Yaoyorozu had no more traps left, and did what she could to secure the bomb, eventually succeeding in the end. This time, it was Kyoka's turn to blush as Izuku finished, causing the rest of the class to gawk at him much like they did for Momo. Those two are insane, they thought. Mina leaned over and whispered to Kyoka. So does he do this often? Kyoka chuckled softly. You should see him when he mutters to himself. It's cute, she answered without realizing what she said at the end. Mina chose not to say anything, but instead looked towards the punk girl with a smirk. Cute, huh? Yes, exactly right. However, I do have a couple notes. Young Yaoyorozu, you were surprised that young Jiro was able to bend your staff even though you witnessed her breaking through your metal barricades moments before. Next time, be more aware of the abilities your opponents show. Young Jiro, if you have information that is important to the safety of those you are working with, then you need to be more assertive. In a real scenario, young Kaminari could have been killed. All Might said sternly while the two girls nodded. Now let's move on to the rest of the matches for today's class. Man, did you see how fast All Might ran? Kaminari asked as he started to remove his hero costume in the locker rooms with the rest of the boys of 1A who were all conversing with each other. Yeah, bro, you think he had somewhere to be? Kirishima asked. Maybe he had a hot date? Siro offered. Well, man, Kaminari said to Izuku, drawing everyone's attention to the green-haired boy. Those are some crazy scars. Katsuki looked away grumbling. They are pretty manly, but I thought you said your quirk gave you regeneration? Kirishima asked. Izuku laughed. It is, but unfortunately, it doesn't heal anything that was on my body before it manifested, and I only got it about 10 months ago. What? Izuku's classmates yelled out. You've had scars like that since before getting your quirk? Kaminari asked. Izuku simply nodded. Hellman, how'd you get them? Kirishima asked. Kirishima, you shouldn't ask personal questions of your classmates like that. Ida scolded. It's fine, Ida, he said, stopping the boy. I don't mind. If it wasn't obvious to you already, until about 10 months ago, I was completely quirkless. It seems like my quirk needed some sort of catalyst to get it to appear. What do you think it was? Siro asked curiously.